Winter can wreak havoc on your skin. Hey, it's Kayla, and it's not just the weather, but as a new mom, I've seen my skin change in ways that I'm not too happy about. But that's where the Skin Center has you covered. Their most popular treatment is Botox because they're the best at it. They've been ranked a top 10 provider in the nation by Allergan Aesthetics, the makers of Botox. And their best facial is what I got. It's the HydraFacial. It exfoliates, extracts, and hydrates all at once. So save your skin from these winter blues and DM at the Skin Center MD on Instagram and mention code Kayla to get $100 off your first Botox or filler treatment or any skincare package.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Mickey, fishy.
You are listening to the Flagship Podcast with your hosts, Joe Lanza.
You've told me like 4 times. I can hear you breathing. Stop breathing.
I don't think I said stop breathing. To be honest, I did not say stop breathing.
Rich asked me to stop breathing.
I wouldn't be the first person in the wrestling world to tell you to stop breathing.
And after this show, you won't be the last.
And Rich Crage.
So are you ready for Roadblock End of the Line?
Roadblock End of the Line.
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 Roadblock End of the Line. Roadblock End of the Line. Roadblock End of the Line. Roadblock End of the Line.
Roadblock End of the Line. Roadblock End of the Line. Roadblock End of the Line. Roadblock End of the Line. Roadblock End of the Line. Roadblock End of the Line. Roadblock End of the Line. Roadblock End of the Line. Roadblock End of the Line.
Roadblock End of the Line. Roadblock End of the Line seems to have some buzz. A lot of buzz for Roadblock End of the Line.
It really does. And we are live here on the Flagship Podcast. I'm Rich. He is Joe. Joe, what's happening?
I was waiting for another 12-minute intro there.
No, yeah, I kept it nice and simple here. Nice and simple with the 1
right.
minute and 30. Although that was kind of cool to kick back and... Yeah, we should do that more. Just a nice big long intro, kick back. In a few more minutes, you can go to the bathroom. I can get a drink. That's not a bad idea moving forward.
That's what I did last week. I played the intro on my phone while I took a dump.
Fantastic.
I knew I had 12 minutes to get that done, which...
To be fair, I think, and I'd have to look back at the messages, I believe I encouraged you to do that. I said, Joe, get into the call now, we'll go live, and then the intro is 12 minutes so you can go take a shit. I believe is how I phrased it, and I'm glad you took that time and that benefit, because you did get on the line pretty quickly. You said, all right, let's go, and then I hit live, and then, yeah, you went and took a shit. I spilled scalding hot coffee all over myself, and then, yeah, that's fantastic, so, you know.
Yeah, so it worked out nicely.
It really did, yeah, instead of having to talk for these, now I got to talk for these 10 minutes, it's weird, it's strange. So there's something I wanted to talk about you briefly about this, because we had touched on last week on our 10th anniversary show about how this show was very different in the early days, where initially you were engaged and I was single, and then I was dating, pretty seriously, and then you were a wild man for a while. And so the nurse is not here this week. The nurse is in Las Vegas climbing up mountains because she's a maniac. As of a few minutes ago, she is still alive. So thank you for your concern, Joe. But so I'm a bachelor this week. I'm by myself. I'm at home by myself. I can do whatever I want, however I want, whatever I want to do. It's my home. Me and the dogs. We're free to do whatever we want. I think we touched on this a little bit during the early days of the Flagship. But what are your eating habits when you were single or by yourself, or? Because mine are just the worst. And it's not that I'm eating terrible food. I'm eating the dumbest food. I just don't care. And I haven't really been in this situation to just have like a week where I could just eat whatever I want. But I don't find myself eating whatever I want. I find myself just opening the fridge and being like, all right, well, I guess, like literally today for dinner before the Flagship, I had a bowl of spinach, 3 slices of like a green pepper, and then a hot dog. And I was like, this is fine. Whatever. Who cares? It's like no pleasure in eating when I'm by myself or I have to just eat for myself. Were you the same in those days? But I know you're a bit of a culinary man, so maybe you didn't stoop to those horrific levels that I did.
Bowl of spinach?
Yeah, it was so bad. No. So I was going to make a salad, and then I half realized that I didn't have enough things to make a salad. So I just literally was eating spinach with my hands while I was eating a hot dog. It's just
okay,
awful.
Hold on. I got questions.
Yeah, please.
So was this like a prepared spinach with garlic and butter?
Nothing. This was literally like I have some spinach like to make a salad. Like it's a box of spinach or whatever, a container of spinach or whatever to make a salad. But I have none of the other salad accoutrement. I just have spinach right now.
Hold on. Another question.
Yeah.
So this is just dry leaves of spinach.
Correct. I am Popeye. The Sailor Man. Yes.
That's not even like Popeye ate like the wet spinach.
He ate the canned. Yeah, he had canned spinach. Yes, I don't have canned spinach.
You're eating like spinach you'd use for a salad.
Correct.
Dry, leafy spinach.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
With a hot dog. And what was the other item?
Some slices of green pepper. I guess there were multiple peppers. It was a red pepper, a orange pepper, and a green pepper.
Slices of green pepper with a hot dog and a bowl of spinach.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know what you're doing.
Okay, so I'm being weird.
Why are you living like this?
I don't know. I realize that thank God I'm not single, because like it's not that I wouldn't cook for myself, because I can cook and I do most of the cooking around the house when the nurse is home. I do most of the cooking, I do most of the preparing, I do most of that stuff. It's just when you're by yourself, I just don't care. So I'm just opening the fridge and going, whatever I can find, I don't care. I'm literally just eating to sustain myself to get through the day, and then I will wake up the next day and do it all over again. That wasn't you?
I mean, I don't think I ever just ate a raw.
Well, maybe not quite literally a bowl of spinach.
With a hot dog.
Yeah, it was a new low. That's why I brought it up on the show, because I'm sitting there and I'm just thinking, man, what am I doing? Like, come on. Like, this is really bad. As I didn't even use a fork for the spinach either, because I was like, you know what I mean? What am I going to use a fork for? So I'm just reaching into a bowl and putting spinach in my mouth. Like,
why is your life collapsing all around?
I don't know. It's not collapsing. I just don't care or something. I don't know.
You should be having a great time.
I know.
You don't have to clean up after her messes.
True.
You don't have to listen to that very strong Chicago accent.
Oh, wow.
This is a test to see if she'll listen when she's out of town, because nothing fires her up like.
She does. Weirdly, she's a big patron. She loved your Joe Drinks on the Coke Starlight or whatever the hell it's called.
Oh, she enjoyed that.
Yeah, she really did. She really did.
That completely fell apart.
She loved it. So keep the work up. So
yeah, the family did not cooperate very well with that, but I'm glad she enjoyed it. No, I don't know. I can't say that I ever ate just random collections of items thrown together like that. I don't know what your problem is. Why don't you just go to the grocery store and get yourself a rotisserie chicken?
Yeah. See, I thought about it and I just never did.
Because you can just sit down and fucking eat that fucker in one sitting with no judgment, and it's pre-made for you, so there's no work to be done, and then you can get back to cooking when the nurse is back in town, slaving away over the stove. But why don't you do something like that? That's the Bachelor move. Go get that rotisserie chicken and like a 6-pack of beer, because I know you're a beer guy, right? You're going to get one of those fancy craft beers. I understand that. You're not going to be grabbing the Michelob Light. I get it. But, go get some beer with a like a bicycle from the 1800s on the side of the can, like one of those beers, or with like they either have a bicycle from the 1800s. You know those bicycles?
You're talking about the large front wheel with the small back wheel?
Yes, I guarantee you there's a craft beer with a 1800s bike with a large front wheel and a small back wheel on the can. I guarantee that. It's either that or like there's always like there's some kind of animal on the can, but not like a bear or a fucking bass fish, because that's like cheap beer has those kind of animals. I'm talking like an artsy animal. Like it'll be like a I'm
very curious what your artsy animal is going to be. Here you go.
Well, it'll be like the beer will be called. It'll have like a toucan or a pelican or something, but it'll be drawn in a very abstract way on the can. You know what I mean? Like that. That's what I mean when I say there'll be an animal on the can, or an 1800s bike, or a fucking, or it'll have some. The name of the beer will be some wacky play on words, some double entendre or something. You know what I mean? Like this, so that's fine. Like that's the kind of beer you grab a 6-pack of whatever that is, right? And a rotisserie chicken, and you're all set. You don't have to be eating leafy spinach with your bare hands It's weird. It's weird with hot dogs. Like, why didn't you take the leafy spinach and cut the peppers up and put them in the leafy spinach? See, you had yourself some salad materials there.
Yeah, I did, but then I had no dressing. I had nothing else to do with it. I had no, you know what I mean? So it was like there was no point in putting together a dollar store salad. Like, it just wouldn't have worked. It would have been a really pathetic salad. So I just made it a very pathetic side dish.
Why didn't you make fancy hot dogs with fancy toppings?
I didn't have anything. That's what I'm saying. I haven't gone to the grocery store. I have nothing here in this house.
Well, then what do you do? That's the problem. You don't have nothing in the house.
Yeah, but I kind of, there's a certain challenge to it. It's kind of like that before you go on vacation challenge. I don't know if you do this at your house, but I've always kind of, I've stuck to that of like right before you go on vacation, like you can't go because you don't want a bunch of stuff to get bad or rot. I mean, you're going to find this out. You're going to take, your first vacation in years next week, right?
Yes.
So you're gonna, I guess you're gonna have to. Are you gonna do this? Are you gonna say, well, hey, look, we can't buy new stuff because it's just gonna go in the fridge and it's just gonna get old by the time we're gone. So we got to, condense things down, get what's left over here. The fresh stuff's we got to eat the fresh stuff. We got to, like, you're gonna have to do that. And I'm kind of finding pleasure in opening my refrigerator and finding it pretty clean. The OCD in me enjoys a very clean refrigerator right now. Unfortunately, the flip side of that is that there's absolutely no food for me to eat.
Yeah, I mean, this sounds to me like you're enjoying the fact that you have a bare cupboard, much like I enjoy being in the airport terminal, which is something that a lot of people can't understand. Like, I love the airport terminal, and I love getting flight delays. I know people don't
that's right. Yeah, yes. So we have our weird quirks. I like a completely empty refrigerator for some reason,
because I'm going to tell you why. Because it's a little adventure. Just like that's why I enjoy the airport terminal and getting a flight delay, because now it's a little challenge and a little adventure.
Okay, so now, see, this is why I'm glad I brought this up and talked to you, because I think part of me enjoyed the pleasure of like, all right, I open that fridge and I'm like, all right, I got a box of spinach, I got a few peppers, I got a hot dog. I don't know if they're old, they're hot dogs. Who cares? I don't have dress, but okay. And then like the other day, I had this, there's just like I've been making these little piecemeal meals, and they're not great, but there's a fun factor in there of like, all right, what are we going to do? How are we going to attack this today? So
you
there you go.
Figured it out, and you figured it out, and it feels good. Right?
I don't know if it feels good, but
no, it's like a little challenge. It's a little adventure, and that I get it. I totally get it, because that's my whole airport terminal deal. So.
Yeah, and you've talked about that before. I mean, you like a delay, right? You like the idea that things have gotten fucked up. That you like the idea that like a connecting flight has been missed, your rental car's screwed up. Yep. You don't know when the next plane's going to come, if you're going to be on that next plane, when you're going to be home. You love that. Yeah,
because then I'm rubbing my hands together like, changing the itinerary. Let's see if I can figure this out.
You're nuts.
Right? And then it's like, if the delay's like 8 hours, it's like, what am I going to do for food? Right? Like, I've got a voucher for $7.50 to Applebee's, and I've got a $20 bill in my pocket, and what am I going to do for food here now in this scenario, right? Like, it's all a challenge. It's like a fun challenge. I feel like Tom Hanks in that movie, The Terminal, where he's like stealing the quarters out of the fucking, the fucking cart machine just for sustenance, and he's eating like fucking mustard packets. Yeah, so I think it's the same kind of train of thought.
So that movie is basically you and I combined right now.
It is. It is. I'm crying because in the chat room, they're naming animals that would be on craft beer cans, and someone said a triceratops, which is absolutely true, and a ptarmigan.
I don't even know what that is. What's a ptarmigan?
A ptarmigan would absolutely be on the can, on a can of a craft.
Should beer. I know what a ptarmigan is?
It's a like a bird. It's like a cock. It's a. I just wanted to say cock. It's like a little bird, a ptarmigan. It's hard to explain. You got to Google it.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. I don't think I've ever seen one of these. It kind of looks like a dove. I guess it's kind of has a dove look to it, I suppose. So.
Ptarmigan's the perfect animal for what I was trying to describe before. It'd be like ptarmigan ale or something, right? It'd have a fucking ptarmigan on it. And because that's a very pretentious animal, because it's spelled with a P. PTAR is the first 4 letters. That's perfect for a craft beer, because they'd be like, people are going to mispronounce this because people don't know what a ptarmigan is, right? And they would put that on their fucking craft beer can, and there'd be like a fucking a crude drawing of a ptarmigan on the can, And that's totally something they would do. It'd be the same brewery that puts out the beer with the 1800s bike.
Right. And I would drink it and love it. And it'd probably be good.
Yeah. Be like, oh, this is a tremendous beer. This unicycle fucking cider. This unicycle cranberry cider. It's fucking it's great.
I love you trying to name alcohol. Joanne's a naming alcohol.
Right. So now next level would be a ptarmigan riding a unicycle, like on the can of the beer. Like that's next level though. That might be pushing it a little too far. But yeah, what a perfect animal. That Triceratops.
Oh, that's great stuff. Yeah. Oh, man, that's great. Real quickly, before we get into the actual wrestling here, I don't know if you saw the news, but your airport, your favorite airport, has been renamed. The McCarran Airport is no more, which caused quite a kerfuffle this week as the nurse was going to Las Vegas, and I told her, we'll make sure you check into your flight. So she checks into her flight, and it comes up with this... What's the name of it? I got to figure out what the new name of the McCarran Airport is just to make sure. Harry Reid International Airport is the new name of the McCarran International Airport. So I see her checking in. It says Harry Reid Airport. And I'm like, where are you going? And she goes, Las Vegas. And I go, no, you're not. Because you're not going to McCarran. You're going to the Harry Reid International Airport. She goes, oh, no. And then she, trusts me too much. And that's one of her mortal flaws is thinking that I know what I'm talking about. Because I'm like, where did you book this flight? Like, where are you going? Like, is this some other, what town are you in? I've never heard of this airport. Like, are you sure LAS is Las Vegas? Like, are you sure you're not going to some, weird... And then so she starts freaking out and texts her brother, oh my God, where, did you book the plane to the right plane? So it causes a complete international incident for a few minutes until I then Googled that McCarran International Airport has been renamed Harry Reid International Airport as of 2 weeks ago, to be fair. So when she booked the initial flight, it said McCarran, but when she checked in, it said Harry Reid International Airport. So I just want to let you know about that and let you know that I don't really care about any airports, and I would have never brought this up, but I know we've had many discussions about the McCarran Airport, so that has always been sort of etched in my mind that the Las Vegas Airport is the McCarran Airport, so yeah, is it still among your favorite airports? I don't know if you actually have a power ranking in your head, but I know you've always rated that one pretty highly.
McCarran's just unique because it's got the gambling.
Right off the bat, too. If you've never gotten off at McCarran / Harry Reid International Airport, it hits you within 4 seconds that you are in Las Vegas. You know what I mean? If you get off that plane and there isn't more than 5 feet separating you, the ramp to get off the plane, and a goddamn slot machine and a row of slot machines and the noise and neon, and you are there and you cannot escape it from the moment you get to that airport to the moment you leave. It is just ding 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 ding, ching 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 ching, airport signs, lights, neon. It is a very unique experience for sure.
A little pit boss with a lockbox in case you hit the big one.
Right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. And the best part about it, no matter what time of the day you're flying out of that airport, more than half of those slot machines are occupied by somebody.
Yeah.
Which is you just left Las Vegas and you're at the airport. How could you possibly want to gamble more? How could you possibly say?
You're trying to get it all back.
There is a certain air of desperation from everybody that is using the airport slot machines. There doesn't seem to be any high rollers just kind of enjoying their time. There is a stench of failure among all those people, unfortunately. So
I understand the psychology behind hitting the last few slots before you step on your plane. What I don't understand is the opposite. Arriving.
Oh yeah, what are you doing? Go to the casinos. You're 10 minutes away from a casino. What are you doing?
Yeah, because I don't trust the airport slots. They're probably very much rigged even more in the house's favor because they're fucking airport slots. I could be totally off on that and wrong, but I don't trust them. Because it's got to be a hassle for them to pay off fucking airport jackpots, right? So I don't know. That's my line of thought on that. But the opposite psychology, I don't get at all. I get, all right, I'm down fucking $1,800 on this trip. Let me throw a $20 bill in this thing and, and see if I could get lucky. Because what's the difference between $1,800 and $1,820 at this point? True. Right? So maybe I'll hit a jackpot, get $500 back or something before I step on the plane. That I get. I don't get the opposite, though. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. What other airports stand out to you as ones that people should try to visit if they get a chance?
I don't have any favorite airports. I listen, any international airport with a terminal with all the accoutrements is just fine by me, you know? As long as you give me some shitty chain restaurants and a fucking what's the new
Hudson
news?
News.
Hudson, give me the Hudson News.
Yeah, so you can thumb through a ESPN the magazine. I didn't even know they make this thing anymore. All right, what's going on here?
Exactly.
Yeah.
A bunch of print magazines you thought never existed anymore, you know? And
You're like Car and Driver. All right, well, hey, you know what?
Right.
When in Rome, Car and Driver. Let's see.
Yeah. And
buy your
candy bars,
$7 bag of gummy bears. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally overpriced. You find yourself in the paperback book section for some reason, even though, and you're trying to talk yourself into one of these books and
thumbing through the latest James Patterson book, wondering, no, that's I don't know.
You're like,
espionage, international espionage, huh? Like, interesting.
Hey, no, Patterson had a new one out. This is,
right.
Look at that! It's a New York Times #1
right.
bestseller. This must be good, right? And then you're like, I don't enjoy international espionage. What am I doing? Like, you're in line with this James Patterson book, and you talk yourself, and you're in line with a James Patterson book, a Butterfinger, and a USA Today, and you're like, what am I doing?
Right. And you're eyeing the neck pillow too. You're eyeing that neck pillow, thinking, man, one of these days I'm gonna buy that, and one of these days you do buy it, and it's a terrible thing. I've bought the neck pillow before. It does not work. It's absolute garbage. Threw it away immediately. But yeah, you always eye it because there's always a new one. Every year they come out with a new, neck pillow, and you're thinking, man, that one looks pretty good. That one looks comfortable. I think I could do that one. That's good for my 2.5 hour flight. I probably need a neck pillow,
It's a Sunday, and the USA Today is from Friday. You're still gonna buy it, right? Like
everything's out of date. Yeah.
Yeah, but you're still in line with it. A $4 bottle of Evian and a James Patterson paperback that you're not going to read, and a USA Today that's 2 days old, and a Butterfinger, and you don't even like Butterfinger. That it just sucks you in, And then
you like this. This is something you like, though.
It's so much fun. It's just so much fun. I can't get enough. Nothing like I don't like getting to the terminal where it's like, man, my flight's in like 40 minutes. I don't have time to browse, walk around, people watch, So you like to get there nice and early, and you force yourself into a meal at one of the shitty chain restaurants because, it's something different. You're eating at the airport, I like the little condensed fucking menu that Chili's has that isn't like their normal menu.
Yeah, right.
Because they're in an airport and they have like 500 square feet of space. So you can't get like the full Chili's menu. You're just getting like, your options are like chips and salsa, burger, or like French fries. That's it, So yeah, I don't know. I like it.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of doing the, so you're there 3.5 hours early or whatever, because I insist on getting there early just because I'm afraid. Like one time we almost missed a flight, so now I insist on getting there as early as humanly possible every single time. And then so we'll eat, but I do the I check my phone every 5 minutes type of thing.
Yeah.
Like 2 hours and 15 minutes. We better get moving here. The gate's like 20 feet away. It's like 100 feet away. I'm like, I don't know, man. I wonder when they're going to start boarding. I should probably.
Yeah.
I look at the app. I'm looking at the, you look at the board. You kind of lean and squint. You go, all right, we're still on time. All right, we got a little bit of, we got a little time to eat our stale chips and salsa from Chili's. Yeah.
Are you a group jumper?
No, I would never. No, never.
I'm a group jumper.
You are. I knew you would be.
Oh, fuck groups. What's the point? Listen.
You're a scumbag.
I'm in Group B and they're calling up Group A. I'm getting in line. Listen,
unbelievable. I hate you. I hate you.
I'll take the gamble.
I wish. And the problem is they don't. I wish they would stop you guys and tell you back in the line.
Say, sir, you're going to have to.
Yes, they should.
No. And listen, if I'm Group B and they call Group A, right? What's the harm in getting in line behind Group A? They're going to call me next anyway.
I mean, that's fine, but you're talking about jumping in on when they're seating A and you're B and you're going to walk up there and get on the plane?
Got assigned seats unless it's Southwest. Who cares? Listen.
Okay. I should probably. I do a lot of Southwest flying, and that is a little bit of a dick move on Southwest.
Southwest, there's no assigned seats.
Right.
So I can understand it more. But if you're flying like United or something, what's the difference?
Okay, all right. I take back I forget what I said. I said some words, and I would like to take them back earlier, but
And here's the other thing. I don't do carry-ons, so I'm not taking a spot in the fucking overhead. So I don't see the point of waiting around. Like, I have an assigned seat, and I'm not stealing your overhead. So I don't care if I'm
okay. That's fair. That's fair. That's totally. Assigned seat wise, yes. People do that on Southwest, and I want them to perish in the plane. That I do not like.
That's just rude.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, great. All right. As long as we're on the same wavelength here. I didn't want old no bag Lanza to walk up and, he's got Group D because he didn't check in last night and didn't pay for the AIDS boarding. Just walking up and going, all right, here we go. And then getting a nice little window seat while me, the dope who woke up at 4 a.m. so he could check into his stupid flight and then paid $70 more to get Group A has to wait behind you. That, that sucks.
Yeah. No, well, I don't know why you're wasting your time doing any of that. You know what I do? I don't check in the night before. What are you doing?
You got it, dude. You got it.
What? I go to the airport. I go up to one of them little kiosk deals, and I print out the fucking.
No, see, the problem though is, and you're gonna find this out with modern air travel. You can't if you don't check in.
Like I don't fly. Like I don't. You
Joe. One time we didn't check in. We show up to the airport, and they had sold the nurse's ticket because she didn't check in, assuming, we didn't know you were still flying. I was stunned. I was stunned by this.
Then I'm getting a flight delay adventure, so it all works out.
Jeez, yeah. Well, it did not work out because one of us had a plane ticket and the other didn't. Eventually got settled, but essentially they just said, "Oh, well, we oversold and we gave the ticket assignments to someone else because you didn't check in." And yeah, that's not great. So there's this weird thing where the airlines treat you like an asshole because you're paying them for a service.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you are bothering them by giving them money for them to fly you a place. They're like, oh, well, you want us to, you bought a ticket. You want us to give you the seat that you bought. I mean, you're out of your mind. You didn't check in on our app last night, so you can't do that. No, you have to be meticulous about the check-ins these days. It's anarchy if you don't check in.
No, I'm going to show up at the airport on Wednesday and print out my paper tickets.
All right.
No bag.
I wish you well. Well, are you flying solo or is this a family?
No, everybody's going. Check the bags. I'm going to check the bags as I always do.
There's people that are new to the flagship, Joe is a staunch no bag at the airport guy.
No, I hands in pockets, whistling a tune while you're all lugging bags around and worrying about overhead space. Fuck that. You want to lose my underwear? Go ahead. What do I care? I got nothing in the bag I need. So, no, I don't give a shit. I check my bags. I don't care what it costs. Charge me whatever you want. Sir, that's going to be $70. I don't care. Just take the bag. I don't want to carry the bag. I'll pay whatever he asks me to carry, whatever he asks me to pay, so I don't have to carry his bag. Okay? So, no, I don't understand people who they're dragging 1,000 bags behind them. They got them rolling. They got them on their shoulders. They look like they're fucking struggling. They're wiping sweat off their brow.
That's me, by the way, who you're laughing at.
Why?
Yeah.
Check the bag. I don't understand it.
I've also had bags lost too. So I have very different airport experiences than you've had, unfortunately. So I think
I have never had a bag lost.
Yeah.
That's number one. And I check all my bags. I've never had my seat sold. What is this that's happening here?
I don't know. This is why I'm so nervous.
You get audited on your taxes too.
Yes.
And I definitely cut some corners on the taxes, and I've never been audited.
You also the jury duty that you have avoided over the years as well. So.
Oh, that gets crumbled up and thrown directly in the trash. You know what?
If I did that, I'd be in prison. Like, you know what I mean? Like, not even jail. Like, somehow it would just be like, I don't even know whatever the harshest crime possible for doing that would be. I would somehow get that.
Listen, the last one I got, I'm like, oh, this goes right in the garbage. TLB's like, you don't have to do that. Just check the box that says you have children under whatever. And she's like, I do it all the time. They'll just dismiss you.
Okay.
I'm like, yeah, but I don't know. Then I don't have the thrill and the excitement of throwing it in the garbage and seeing if something's going to happen. Like what I figured out about myself is I like living on that edge. So I did not check the boxes and do it. I just threw it in the garbage and nothing ever came of it. So, it's a lot of fun. But airport groupings, I'm sorry, unless it's Southwest. If I'm flying Pan Am or something,
Pan Am. They've been out of business for so long, right?
Oh, they're out of business?
Is Pan Am still around?
I guess that's like the 70s, right?
I don't think Pan Am is around anymore. Joe, they ceased operations December 4th, 1991.
Well, you know.
TWA, if you're on Pan Am or TWA or whatever.
Right.
So the last time you flew was Pan Am.
I fly all the time. I just never, I don't know. Whatever the fuck. So if I'm flying Continental or whatever, are they still in business? They're still in business. They're out too? Continental's out?
Let me hold on. I don't know about Continental. I need to find out. I think they are, though. I'm pretty sure Continental is a subsidy of United these days. Continental ceased operations March 3rd, 2012. All right, who else you got?
United. They got it.
Yeah, United's still good. Yeah, United's still fine.
Delta, who should be out of business.
Delta should be out of business, still unfortunately in business.
God, they stink. But
you're gonna get the folks of Sup Wrestling pretty upset about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. That's their hometown brand. I understand they got to defend it, but nobody else likes Delta. I guess, you know what? Complaining about airlines is kind of, I don't know. Everyone has their own airline they hate, I guess. If you have one bad experience, you're going to hate that airline for the rest of your life.
For sure.
I mean, that's just how it works. And then someone else could have no bad experiences with that airline, and they're not going to hate it. But if I'm in Group D, you bet your ass I'm getting up with Group A. I don't give a fuck. I don't have a carry-on bag. I have an assigned seat. I'm not sitting there like a dope waiting around an extra 20 minutes to get on the plane. I'll dare that lady with her little scanner to say, "Oh, I'm sorry, sir, you need to step up." They never do. Rich, they don't care. They don't care either. Unless, Southwest, they probably care, but I've never tried it with Southwest because that's rude.
Yeah, don't try with Southwest. You're a bad dude.
Well, I wouldn't do that. That's rude. But I'm saying these other airlines, it really doesn't matter.
That's fine. Yeah. So you weirdly you're on a rush to get on the plane. Well, I swear to God, we're gonna get to wrestling. soon.
Yeah.
There's so much wrestling to get to, and we're gonna get to it. You want to be on the plane because I, as much as I don't like airport terminals, I hate being on an airplane even more. So I'd rather be the last person that boards onto that plane if I have an assigned seat.
I just get me on the plane. Get me on the plane. And I think again though, it's like my Johnny Gargano rebel heart. I just want to like jump the fucking groups and see if I can get away with it. It's the same as throwing the jury.
Because I could see you sitting in, row 12 with the window seat, just eyeballing everybody that's walking by, all miserable, all carrying all their luggage. They go to the overhead. There's no room. They're trying to put it up. It's falling. They're getting upset. Someone comes over. Oh, here, let me help you with that. No, I got it. Type stuff. And you're just, cool Joe, just looking out the window.
No bag. Arms folded,
thumbing through your, NFL season preview in November. You bought what's the I don't forget who does that these days. The Sporting News does it, but there's another one that does it.
Little athlon.
right. It's like mid-November.
Little Street and Smiths. Right?
Like well past the season's already like deep in, and you're still like, oh, I don't know. Yeah, Cardinals are pretty good this year. Like, gonna be,
and they're 3-4.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's what I do. That's definitely what I do. And you watch everyone get on the plane and you're like, I don't want that fat stinky guy to sit next to me. I hope it's that girl with the big honks. I hope she's the one that ends up next. So you do that too,
All right.
So, but yeah, I don't know.
Well, enjoy your trip. Are you what airport will you be exiting from soon?
Going to the motherland.
There it is.
I think when I get off the plane, I'm going to kiss the ground in beautiful Newark, New Jersey. Nothing beautiful about
lovely
it.
This time of year. Beautiful this time of year.
It's not lovely any time of year.
Oh.
Normally, I don't even fly into Newark. Normally, I fly into Philly. But Newark was cheaper this time around. And when you're flying 4 people, that matters.
Yes. Yes.
Went with Philly's usually cheaper. I don't know what's going on. Everything's upside down. But yeah. Flying in Newark, spend some time in the motherland. Can't wait to get some pizza, go to some Italian delis, get some Italian restaurants. TLB wants to go on a Sopranos tour, so we're going to go see Tony Soprano's house.
Incredible. Is that a thing that they actually have? Like that they have that for sure, right?
No. It's I'm taking her on a Sopranos
tour. I see. Well, why don't they have that? They should have that. You should start
Someone should monetize that.
Yes, they should. Because in Chicago, we have a Gangstas tour where you can get on a bus and they will drive you to all these different random locations and go, yeah, well, that's where the St. Valentine's Day Massacre happened. That's one of Al Capone's hideouts. Like, hey, this is where this guy killed himself, or that's when that guy got killed, or whatever. It's awesome. It rules. It's really cool. It's a lot of fun. And like as
Siegel cut a man's throat,
right? It's awesome. And then when you're in there, they play like the noise of like gunshots hitting the buses and stuff, and it's a ride. It's a lot of fun. So I would not, honestly, if you want to quit the podcast and just do the Sopranos tour, wouldn't hate you for it. Would not hate you for it. You should probably do that.
I mean, I really don't know how that hasn't been monetized. Maybe it has been. I don't know, but we're just going to. I'm just gonna, Google Maps all the locations and drive her around.
There you go.
See that stuff. So we'll go to the Bada Bing. We'll go to the. We'll go to fucking Tony's house. We'll go to Pizza Land from the opening credits. She wants to take Tony's fucking drive up the turnpike and see all that shit. So we got all that planned out. She's never been. She wants to go to New York City. So unfortunately, I have to spend a day doing that. I fucking hate New York City. I have to use that disgusting, vile public transportation.
Oh no, yeah.
So gross. So gross.
Is it because she wants to use the subway, right?
Well, he's just happy. I mean, it's not functional not to use it. I mean, it'd be dumb to drive in because she wants to go to a Broadway show. So I'm not driving. We're not driving.
Trip.
For that. So,
jeez.
Well, I
better plug that Patreon for the Insurrection Live coming up.
I already commissioned a friend, so he will be taking us because I don't want anything to do with figuring out train schedules or you know how that is.
I do.
He's going to handle everything. He's going to buy the fucking
oh my god,
the MTA cards or whatever the fuck. Where he's gonna come with us. We have a chaperone basically, and we're gonna get on the appropriate trains. We're gonna get to the appropriate theater. I don't want anything to do with planning that or setting it up. I just want to be a big dummy and follow him around. So Rob Stryker will be
there. It is,
getting us on this to the Broadway show. I don't care what show it is because I'm not gonna like any of them anyway. So. Her and him are working it out. They should just go. I'll stay home.
I was going to say, why are you even going?
I'll stay home and watch basketball. They should just go to the fucking. I might actually try to wiggle my way out of it.
Well, I think you're going to be there. I think you're going to be there during a little Big East.
I'm going to be there during the Big East tournament.
I would say let Rob Stryker handle the Broadway, and you handle going to Madison Square Garden for the Big East tournament.
I would never find my way there. I would get lost. But if I could figure out a way, then send them to the show. I can go to the Big East tournament, little Providence Seton Hall, right? No doubt about it, because there's no way Georgetown's advancing.
What about my DePaul Blue Demons, Joe? How are they looking?
As awful as usual. So they're not going anywhere either. But and then a little Atlantic City. She wants to see Atlantic City. Never been there before, so plenty to do with the New Jersey trip. Plus, half my relatives never met any of these people, so that's a big part of the trip as well. But well,
there you go. So we will have very different flagships the next 2 weeks. I'm still trying to figure out what we're going to do, if I'm going to be solo, if I'm going to have special guests, what I'm going to do, but that will you'll get news about that this coming as soon as we can, probably this coming week. I'll give you some stuff about that, but expect the flagship will be here no matter what. We'll just figure out. It might sound a little different. Again, haven't quite figured out what I'm going to do quite yet. Also, patreon.com/voiceswrestling, flagship patreon.com. The Thursday tier reviews will remain. I will be taking over the Thursday tier reviews for the next 2 weeks. So I'll be reviewing AEW Dynamite, probably a little bit of a different format than Joe usually does, but you are still going to get Dynamite reviews. It's just going to come from me instead. So flagship will still be around. Thursday tier reviews. You will not miss any content. You'll just miss Joe for a little bit. But for some of you, that will be okay. So for some of you, that's not a problem. So.
Live instant reaction this weekend, though.
Absolutely.
This isn't the end of me.
No, I was going to say we need to, especially if you're going to Broadway shows and all this stuff, you're going to need this thing. So this Sunday, immediately after AEW Revolution, immediately following the show. The show's going to end. We're going to give you about 10, 15 minutes or whatever to gather your thoughts, gather everything, and we are going live with an instant reaction. We're going to review and recap every bit of AEW Revolution. This weekend, we will give our star ratings, we'll give our reviews, we'll give our recaps. This is the only opportunity here, Joe and I talk about Revolution, because we will not review it next week. Joe obviously will not be here. I won't be reviewing next week. So if you want to hear what we think of AEW Revolution, make sure you're there live on Sunday night immediately following the show. It's always one of our more lively chat rooms as well. The No-Dope chat room is always going nuts. So it's a big party when these shows are over. So it'll be Sunday night, immediately following Revolution. Yeah, instant reaction live, and you'll get some interesting stuff here pretty soon about links and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, immediately following the show, going live, instant reaction live, AEW Revolution 2022. All right.
Those are long nights because we do the instant reaction live, and those like take almost the length of the pay-per-view.
Yeah, they're obnoxiously long. Yeah.
Then when we get off of that, then I spend, you probably go to bed. I stay up because then I listen to the whole media scrum with Khan and whatever wrestlers participate in the scrum. And then I gather up all my information from, some of the other top pundits, most of whom I don't respect anyway, but I got to know what they think. And then, so it becomes a very long night. I'm not getting to bed until, well, then again, now that I think about it, that's when I normally get to bed. So what am I complaining?
You're just doing more stuff. You're just not watching scummy basketball. Instead, you're just doing stuff.
That's true. Yeah.
You're not watching Central Connecticut versus whoever the fuck.
Central Connecticut was eliminated yesterday.
Oh,
so,
the end of
SenCon, as you dub them.
Right, it's all over for SenCon.
They got by Fairleigh Dickinson, but they lost to Bryant last night. So Bryant has the leading scorer in the nation.
I like that. That's cool. By the way.
And he's a white guy. How about that?
Interesting. There we go.
You don't see that. When's the last time a white player led the nation in scoring?
It probably happens more than you would think. I would bet.
Does.
Yeah, because Jimmer not that long ago, he was averaging 25 a game or 30 a game or whatever because there was just nothing else on the team besides him. I'm sure it probably happens more than we would think.
Yeah.
Jimmer. Anyway, all right, let's get to some actual wrestling here before we get. So, all right, we're going to start out first. There's plenty on this week's show, by the way. We have AEW Revolution. We're going to preview that. We're going to talk about Tony Khan purchasing Ring of Honor. This is an insane wrestling week. I love how Tony Khan purchasing Ring of Honor is like the third topic we're going to talk about this week. Control your narrative this weekend, Joe. We are going to talk about the scheduled fights from the Control Your Narrative as well as the Rat Room and just try to figure out what the hell this promotion is or trying to be. We'll touch on the NWA Crockett Cup, which is coming up here very shortly as well. Some of the teams that are in there. Rev Pro Epic Encounters, some matches being announced for that. Bouncing around Japan. I think we're going to do a quick bouncing around Japan at some point here. And then we're going to talk about, and I guess we'll do that a little bit in this segment here. I'll talk about WrestleMania and the ticket struggles that they're having. But first, we do want to touch on this morning or this afternoon. Vince McMahon was a guest on Pat McAfee's radio show. One of the first. I don't know how to classify this. One of the first quote unquote media interviews that Vince has done in something like 15 years, I think is the last time you can, not like a Stone Cold podcast, not like being, interviewed for a WWE documentary, like literally going onto a television show, going onto a network. I would argue, because a lot of people were classifying it as such, I would argue, and especially now that we're done with the interview, I would argue that this probably shouldn't count as that because it is essentially state-sponsored media in a lot of ways. Pat McAfee is an employee of Vince McMahon, so I don't know that I buy it. It's not the same as Bob Costas interviewing Vince McMahon. You know what I mean? Like
hold on a second, sir.
That's true.
Hold on a minute.
I'm clearing off all the roses that Pat McAfee has been drenched in. Yes.
What do you mean? Pat McAfee did a phenomenal job humanizing Vince McMahon and getting so much out of him that we never have heard before.
Yep. Yeah. So if you didn't listen to the interview,
you besmirch this.
You're right.
And call it state-sponsored, despite the fact that he's an employee of the man. How dare you besmirch this? I mean, Rich, a cursory glance at the greater wrestling media, at the collective wrestling media would tell you that you are out to lunch. This was a phenomenal piece of journalism by Pat McAfee, employee of Vince McMahon, to get all of this humanizing material out of Vince and really dig deep. And we learned so much about the man and dug deep into his psyche. And now we all understand how Vince McMahon ticks. In fact, Rich, Ryan Satin says that this interview will be looked back upon for decades.
Decades.
For people who want to get inside the head and know more about Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
Yes. Yeah. So if you did not watch the interview, here are the highlights. Vince McMahon works out at weird times of the night, and he has been successful for many decades. So, wow. So where do you want to start, Joe?
Incredible humanizing insight that was provided here.
So if you didn't catch that, again, to recap, Vince McMahon works out at 1:30 a.m. and then ends his workout at 3 a.m.
Wow.
Does not sleep very much, Vincent Kennedy McMahon. And he has been very successful in taking sports entertainment / professional wrestling from a regional carny business into a...
Well, I mean, Pat McAfee spent an hour telling Vince McMahon how great he was while Vince agreed. So
right? It was very...
pretty. I mean, I think we all got that hammered home.
Yeah, and that's essentially what we learned. So yeah, that was he is just like you and me. Vince McMahon, just a normal, roll up the sleeves, go to work, hard hat, lunch pail, middle class American who just works out at 1:30 a.m. and is a billionaire and has been very successful for many, many decades. So there you go.
And is perfectly content with the creative in his company. He says he would make 0 changes despite the fact they rip up the Raw script nearly every week. And
he says, I don't, I make 0 changes. I make zero changes. I like to stick with a plan and go with it. I'm like, motherfucker, you rip up Raw 5 minutes before every show and rip it up 15 times before every show. What are you talking about?
He doesn't listen to negative criticism, despite the fact that his entire career he's been the most thin-skinned person on the planet, and
right.
in response to every.
I do like as well that Pat McAfee did press him on this and said, WCW and AEW and the Monday Night Wars or whatever. Are you somebody that relishes competition? And Vince McMahon said, I love competition.
Oh well, again, these are things we never would have learned about Vince McMahon without the Pulitzer Prize-winning interview skills of one Pat McAfee.
He loves competition. He thrives in competition so much that he tries to put all of his competitors out of business as quickly as possible. So
we never knew these things about Vince, and thanks to Pat McAfee, we
successful,
know them now
competitive, and works out. Wow. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, no doubt about it. You would think that Pat McAfee is Edward R. Murrow after this, and these fucking listen, I kind of got all my vitriol out of my system.
I was gonna say there's a great audio on $5 tier, Thursday tier reviews of Joe getting much of his vitriol out on the wrestling media and the absolute state of it.
That's the thing. Like, this was an embarrassing day. It really was truly embarrassing to the point you're cringing. But it wasn't embarrassing for Vince McMahon. He no pun intended here, and I know it's a topic later, but he was able to control his own narrative and not answer anything even resembling a tough question, because they were few and far between from McAfee, because he works for him. He's not going to press him or ask him hard questions. But even when things like Saudi Arabia came up, Vince was able to just avoid it and give really shitty answers, like you have to respect their culture. Whereas a real interviewer would have said, Vince, they cut people's heads off and they hate gay people. But McAfee's never going to do that. And then you have these absolute frauds, these total clowns in wrestling media, like Chris Van Vliet, saying things like, and I quote, "The Vince McMahon interview on Pat McAfee show is nothing short of amazing. It's an incredibly rare look into the human side of VKM." Because these people are all frauds. They don't know what a good interview sounds like. They have no interest in hearing a good interview. And if somebody like Chris Van Vliet interviewed Vince McMahon, it would be the same shitty puff piece nonsense that Pat McAfee gave him. The only difference being that Chris Van Vliet doesn't work for Vince McMahon and would be under no obligation to toss him softball after softball and massage his balls for an hour while he does his own PR. So it would be even more embarrassing for Van Vliet, but that's what we're loaded with in today's wrestling media.
Yeah, it's a sad state of affairs. Yeah,
and it wasn't embarrassing for Vince. It wasn't embarrassing for McAfee.
This was essentially, when it was all said and done, this was no different than Vince being interviewed on WWE Network by a producer, on the show.
That works for him.
Right. And ultimately, we should have all seen that coming, I think, at least, maybe. But, no, what's he going to do? Is he going to say, hey, so what happened to Triple H? He was once, your second in command, and now he's, we haven't heard from him. Is he dead? Is he alive? What's going on? Of course he wasn't going to do that. I don't know why we thought that was going to be the case, but, I don't think, again, I don't think anybody smart did think that was going to be the case.
And they don't care. That's the problem. They don't care.
Right.
Look, and again, this isn't embarrassing for McAfee. McAfee is who we thought he was.
Right.
Exactly I thought McAfee would do.
Yeah.
Now, was it a terrible interview that garnered that didn't garner a single thing that was interesting or insightful? Yes. But that I expected it to be a terrible interview that didn't garner, that for an hour didn't give us a single thing that was interesting or insightful about
Right.
I expected it.
Which wouldn't be much of a problem if you're a normal Pat McAfee show listener, you're just the guy who listens to that show regularly, listens when Aaron Rodgers is on, listens for AJ Hawk, or like you might have found this pretty interesting. Oh, hey, cool. Vince McMahon. Hey, well, here's what the guy that leads WWE, yada yada yada. Like that's fine. But like for anybody that's been in wrestling or covers wrestling or follows wrestling, you just want a little more out of this because this is a guy who is so guarded and so doesn't do media interviews. And the reason why he doesn't do media interviews is anytime he actually does do a media interview with a real member of the media, he usually ends up like assaulting the interviewer or getting himself in trouble. So that he decided I should just stop doing these things because if he's not slapping the paper out of somebody or literally threatening to beat somebody up, like
things that have happened.
Right, these things have happened before, so now he just doesn't do them.
Armin Katayan,
yeah,
Bob Costas, putting a plant in the audience on Donahue. This is a deeply insecure man baby who can't handle a real interview. That's why he hasn't done them. And it wasn't embarrassing for him. It's what I expected out of him.
Right. It's the only one. When he agreed to do this, everybody that's smart should have realized, oh, okay, this isn't going to be like a real.
Yeah. It wasn't embarrassing for McAfee. It's what I expected out of McAfee. Who this was embarrassing for was the collective wrestling media who praised McAfee for this phenomenal interview that garnered all of this great, insightful information. How about at WrestleOps with like 20,000 followers? For the record, Pat McAfee was absolutely the right person to handle Vince McMahon's first interview in over 15 years. Who is the fucking moron behind that account who would type out those words?
That's bizarre. Yeah,
that is one of the worst tweets I've ever seen in my
anything.
life.
Like, what did you learn? I guess, are we just like...
How is he the right person to handle Vince McMahon when he didn't ask him anything interesting?
Right. I guess, are we like...
When he didn't follow up or press him on anything.
No, he didn't do anything.
It was a horrible interview. There's nobody in a real media space who would think that was a good interview.
And I guess that's my bigger question is like, I already have no faith in it's not even right. Sports media is getting pretty close too. Access media, access journalism has basically taken over everything, and it's all pretty horrible at this point. But like, I guess I have such little faith in wrestling media that I'm not surprised by this. But I'm also a little bit like, did you actually listen to that? Like, are these people being earnest when they're saying that they sat down and listened to this interview and were like, whoa? Vince said his dad used to be in the NWA, but then he wasn't. Oh my God. Like, is that something that like blew your mind? Like, I guess, are we coming at it from a standpoint of like, well, we actually know something about wrestling? Like, I don't mean to be like cocky or like gatekeepy or whatever, but like, is it just that we think that we're like knowing, like, do these people not know anything? Like, I guess that's essentially what I'm getting is like, are these people, have they all been watching wrestling for 2 weeks and this is like their first exposure to any information about Vince McMahon? Like that, if it was, then okay, then maybe this interview was like, oh wow, we really learned. But if you follow this man or read a book or studied wrestling on any level more so than just cursory crap, like nothing that was said was new, different, humanizing, unique. I mean, it was, I could have read the interview, nothing, zero was said. The only thing that there was one thing, which is weird that I've seen nobody pick this up, by the way, either. And I've been kind of out of I haven't really been following this entire night. But Vince did mention at one point, my wife at that time.
Yeah.
Did you catch that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Has anybody said anything about that? Because like,
I want you, listen. Okay, let me speak on that. I want you to compare the people who were busy helping Pat McAfee massage Vince McMahon's balls and
getting some retweets, getting some RTs,
and are claiming this was a great, insightful interview that humanized him and showed us a side of him that we never saw before. Compare that group of people, and then compare the group of people who picked up on my wife at that time and the people who tweeted that out. Two completely distinct, different groups of people, and you also have the most.
I mean, that's a massive story. If so,
well, they're all glossing over all the. Vince at one point. I'm paraphrasing, but I'm not way off. At one point, Vince McMahon said he's happy that the company went public because it makes his decision-making easier from the standpoint of his heart doesn't have to be involved anymore. He said this. He said, my heart doesn't have to be involved anymore. And I don't have to consider things like, oh, does this person have a family? or does this person have a family member that has cancer? And I could just make the right decision for the business and the shareholders. I don't have to have my heart involved anymore. He said that. And none of these fucking feckless cowards tweeted about that. That should be the headline.
Right. He did also,
everywhere.
I think in that same time said, I'm only beholden to shareholders.
Yes. How is this not your headline?
Right.
How is this not Fightful's headline? Fightful wrote like 12 headlines breaking up this interview into little bits, and none of them are that? It's a disgrace. They're a bunch of feckless cowards, every single one of them.
I'm trying to look. And again, maybe I'm missing it, that the stuff about the wife, I don't see anything about Vince McMahon divorced being reported right now, which is...
He flat out said, I don't have to worry about people's families with people with cancer because I'm beholden to shit. He said that. I'm not making it up. That didn't get any, but here's what does get tweeted by Joseph Stazuski of CBS Sports. Props to Pat McAfee for the interview of Vince McMahon. We got to see some insight into the genuine human being we never get a chance to. Hashtag WWE.
Hashtag WWE.
These are the fucking feckless, cowardly morons that we're dealing with. Okay?
Man.
This is what we're dealing with. Let's go to the Grand Poobah, Ryan Satin. The ringleader of all this, Ryan Satin, who legitimately might be the stupidest person that I've ever encountered. Pat McAfee should take a bow and be real proud of the work he did today with Vince McMahon. Humanizing a person like that, regardless of people's opinions of him, is not an easy task. People will watch this interview for decades and come to learn more about
You've already read this one. You've already read this one. But I like that you do it again, because I did a spit take when I read that earlier. The people will be going back to this interview for decades to listen.
Another clown.
Was Vince McMahon successful? Let me go back to the interview with Pat. Yes, he was. Okay, great. Got it.
It's Ryan, did you hear the part where he said he can fire people with no conscience now? Did you listen to that part? Did you listen to the part where he said you have to respect the Saudis' culture? Did you listen to that part, Ryan? Will they be listening to... Hey, Scott Fishman, another one. I can't remember the last time we learned this much about Vince McMahon at such a personal level. Often we may forget that Vince McMahon is an actual human being. Amazing work by Pat McAfee. Rich, I want to jump into a lake of fire. How is this amazing work by Pat McAfee? He got nothing out of the guy.
Yeah.
He didn't press him on anything. And my problem isn't with McAfee or McMahon. My problem is with Scott Fishman and Chris Van Vliet and Ryan Satin. And I've heard Chris Van Vliet and Ryan Satin interviews. It's no shock that they don't know a good interview, because their interviews stink. Denise Salcedo, all of them. I promised I wasn't going to do this, and you got me.
Yeah, no, and yeah, we have so much else to get to. So again, Thursday tier reviews, you did do that a little bit more, but no, I'm with you. Yeah, it's what's strange about this more than anything is that I guess I have zero faith in wrestling media anymore, but it is still pretty revealing when something like this happens. And it's just, it's so strange that nobody really wants to, and like, again, anybody who listening, like, we can dance around it, but I mean, we know the score, we know what's going on here. It's in other circles, it's called like access journalism or whatever, is that these people want access to WWE.
It's not unique. It's not unique.
Right. It's not only a wrestling thing, but I think it tends to feel a little bit more in wrestling because there are so few people that don't do it these days. There are so few people that have a big spotlight, that are on the major sites, that are, being retweeted constantly and are being talked about constantly, that will challenge this sort of stuff. There's very few. I mean, there's you can count it literally on one hand, unfortunately. Like that's, and those people, and you've alluded to this a while as well, those people are getting old. You know what I mean? Dave Meltzer is getting old. He's not getting younger, folks. He is getting older. Wade Keller is still pretty young, but he is getting older. Mike Johnson is getting older. These men are getting older. These men are yeah. And then that's really the thing is like, okay, if one day Dave Meltzer says, you know what, screw it, I'm done with this shit, I don't want to do this anymore, and Wade Keller says, I've done this for a lot of my life, but I'm ready to retire and just kind of chill. Okay, so now you have Mike Johnson and who's actually doing like deep time, and I'll give credit where it's due, like Brandon Thurston, what was on Twitter and was critical of this interview and was critical. And
well, it's there are listen,
they're there. They're just,
but you could have figured out who was going to be a fucking moron about this and who was going to be smart about it before it ever happened. My problem is these people think Pat McAfee did a good job.
Right.
How is that even? That's Rich. It made me so angry today that these people are throwing roses at Pat McAfee and think that he did a good job, that I started to get like physically ill.
Well, and that's why I asked a little bit earlier.
Because I care.
Yeah. And I guess you shouldn't. I guess that is one of your mortal flaws, is that you care. You shouldn't.
If you are in wrestling media, your reaction to this interview shouldn't have been, oh, Pat McAfee was so great here. Your reaction to this interview should have been anger. And you should have been annoyed that McAfee was given this opportunity and did nothing with it.
Yeah, for the first time in almost 2 decades, somebody got to interview Vince.
Yes.
Quote unquote, out of his comfort zone.
And this man will probably die before he does another one. And you should have been mad and pissed off that you didn't get the opportunity to sit down with this guy for an hour. Because if I had an opportunity to sit down with this guy for an hour, I'm not trying to humanize him. I'm not trying to get funny stories. He's a billionaire who's done a lot of questionable things. And he can have his feet held to the fire. It's fair. He gets plenty of roses.
Right. He might slap you at some point, but you know what? Hey, it's part of it.
He needs to be asked about Saudi Arabia, and it needs to be followed up on. When he says you got to respect their culture, you bring up journalists getting their heads cut off, and you bring up how it's illegal to be gay. Or you're a clown. And if you praise someone who doesn't do it, you're a clown too. And then you bring up Triple H and ask where the fuck he is. And then you bring up Shane McMahon and ask where the hell he is.
I would also bring up how your public relations are saying you're doing budget cuts, but you made $1 billion in record profits this year too. That might be a good. And after he mentions that he has no heart in when he fires people.
There's a million things you can bring up, but you only have an hour.
Yeah.
Okay? So fucking, as the kids say, miss me with the humanizing. No one cares. I don't give a shit when Vince McMahon lifts weights. And if you do, you're useless to me. And that's what we're loaded with in this wrestling media.
Yeah.
A bunch of useless, feckless cowards who are busy tweeting about Vince McMahon lifting weights at 2 a.m. with crying face emojis. And saying how great of a job Pat McAfee did in his horrible interview where we got nothing out of it. And you know what it is? Rich, it's not devious. These idiots don't know the difference.
And that's, I guess that's what I wanted to bring up, and that's a good way to kind of conclude this segment here is that, and I asked it a little bit earlier, are there people that earnestly didn't know anything about Vince McMahon or actually like enjoy this thing or think this is a good interview or think that this is humanizing and I think that's the problem that's the thing that maybe is most disturbing about it all is not necessarily that, they're trying to be, we don't want to say anything bad because we don't want to lose our access or whatever. And there might be a little bit of that. There might be some parts of that too. But there are probably people that legitimately do think, wow, that was a great interview. And that is even more the problem, I would say. That is even more disturbing that
Rich,
people
would know the difference.
Right, and I think that gets to the head of it. And that gets to the head of it of all journalism. And that's
I'm going to tell you the problem with a lot of these people. Your Chris Van Vliets and your Denise Salcedos and these people. I'm going to tell you what the problem is. They admire Vince McMahon. And they will cling to anything that supports their admiration of him. Okay? And an interview like this where he's yucking it up with an employee, none of them are bringing that up. The man works for Vince McMahon. Right.
It's not like Pat McAfee was hitting the phone lines at Vince's PR guy saying, you got to give me the interview with Vince. You got to give me the interview with Vince. And
they admire him.
8 years in the making or whatever. No, it's his fucking the guy that works for him. It's his second announcer on SmackDown on his major show. Like, get out of here.
It's why they're soft as hell on his shitty product. It's why they never go after him for the controversial things that he does and says. It's why none of them are bringing up or making headlines out of the fact that he said he doesn't have to have a heart anymore and he could just make business decisions and fire people who have families in cancer. He said this. I'm not making it up. I paraphrased it, but go listen.
And alluded to the fact that it divorced his longtime wife, Linda McMahon, who a major part of that company and a major, like, huge, gigantic, like, seismic shift in his life and her life and the business of that company or whatever. But yeah, we let that one go.
Problem is these Salcedos and these Van Vliets, their heads hit the pillow at night, dreaming of being hired by these people. That's the bottom line. And they admire him. They admire the company. They're soft on the company. I talked about it months ago when I listened to that Wrestling Inc. podcast. Tissue soft review on what was an awful SmackDown. Buried the shit out of Rampage. The claws came out. Not because they have anything inherently against AEW, but because they are terrified to criticize WWE. They don't want to do it. They admire Vince McMahon. They feel bad about, and then they feel free when it comes time to criticize something else because they don't have that same admiration built in from their childhood. Okay, that's part of this problem too.
Right, and in one case that's okay, like that's fine, but it also would be nice if there was other people in this space. The problem is that the space is dominated by that type of person, and that
this was an embarrassing day,
and that's worrying.
It was just total clownish behavior, immature behavior, childish behavior, just, like a bunch of people just marking out over these mundane Vince McMahon quotes that were just, who cares when he works out? Why does anybody give a shit when Vince McMahon lifts weights? When he's running Blood Money shows in Saudi Arabia? And we're worried about when he lifts weights? And we're praising Pat McAfee for this? How about criticizing Pat McAfee for not following up on Saudi Arabia? How about pointing out that Vince said he can fire people now and not have to think with his heart and just think about the bottom line? How's that not the headline everywhere? How is that not the headline everywhere? That's the lead. If anyone was interested in doing this job properly, but they're not. Mm-hmm. And they don't know the difference. They genuinely think this was a good interview because these are the kind of interviews these people conduct. Garbage. Absolute garbage. And it's unfortunate. Again, I got a lot of this out behind the paywall. I guess I did it again. But it really, because Rich, for someone like me or you to get an hour of Vince McMahon, I mean, you should be angry how bad this interview was. And they're all treating Pat McAfee, like he's going to get a Pulitzer Prize. It's unbelievable. How is there not anger and resentment? And I could have done a much better job than this. That's what they should all be thinking. They have no professional pride. None of them. The whole lot of them. A bunch of feckless cowards, clueless on top of that, with no professional pride. To think that this, a once-in-a-decade opportunity, and we got nothing out of it. They admire him too much. That's what it comes down to. They see him as a demigod. I see him as a guy who ruined my hobby. That's the difference. But the bottom line here is I would be fair either way. I don't even pretend to be a journalist. But let me tell you something. It's just, I don't know. I know you don't want to do this. I know you're tugging your collar. I know you think I'm going to get us in trouble and everything. But it needs to be said because no one else is saying it.
I do want to say,
go ahead. Fightful will break this thing up into 19 different fucking headlines.
And that's the name of the game. And again, like I get it. And that's part of the game and that's how you make money in this industry. I get it. The problem is that there's so few people on the flip side of that. As this was going on, there was 2 people that I saw that were tweeting that I said, okay, these people are getting it and understanding. And that's not to say they're the only people. They were the 2 people that I noticed. And it was David Bixenspan and it was Brandon Thurston were the only 2 people I saw.
Bix was crushing this.
He was yes, and I wanted to give credit.
McAfee, and he was killing McMahon. You're dead on.
So if people want to say, well, who's you just say everybody sucks. Okay, there's 2, and again, there were probably other people, but the 2 people that I saw that were out there tweeting it, David Bixenspan in particular, at David Bix, the whole time was like, what is going on? This is terrible. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? And responded to everything that was being said as, no, you're lying, Vince. That's not true. And here's evidence that you're lying. Or no, that's not, So I want to give credit where it's due, that there are some people out there that I do trust and I do think don't have ulterior motives and don't do that. The problem, though, like you said, is that the majority of the people are more of the tissue soft headline, clicks, retweets, likes, access journalism type stuff. And there's a small sliver of people that are actually willing to say the stuff that needs to be said or say the truth and don't give a shit that they're not going to get hired by the company. But the problem is it's such a few small little sliver, and those people are largely, unfortunately, insignificant in the grand scheme of wrestling journalism. That sucks. It's really disheartening.
Bix was tremendous. calling out every Vince lie, and that's Bix's wheelhouse.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
it's got a whole newsletter based on it. Yeah.
Crushing McAfee for not having his facts straight with the questions, crushing McMahon for lying, while everybody else is throwing roses and saying how great this interview was. I mean, I listen, you can call it hyperbole. I'm screaming like a maniac 5 minutes ago, but in all honesty, and I mean this as sincerely as I could possibly mean it, if you genuinely thought this was a good interview, I don't respect you from that standpoint anymore. You don't understand what a good interview is, and you don't belong in media if you thought that was a good interview. I know that might come off a little harsh, and I'm not trying to be edgy. Everybody hates me anyway. It doesn't make a difference. But I'm not trying to be edgy. I'm not trying to be an edgelord. I'm not trying to – there's no hyperbole in that statement. That interview was so bad, beyond the pale bad, that if you genuinely thought that was a good job by McAfee and he got good information out of Vince McMahon, I can't respect you from that standpoint anymore. And I really don't think – and listen, and you kind of said something earlier in our Discord, and I don't want to steal your thunder, okay? But you said something that was very smart, Rich Craich. You said today was a good day where you can really parse out who to listen to and who not to listen to in wrestling media moving forward. Because you cannot think that this was a quality interview and have any credibility. In any other space, this interview would be getting lambasted and trashed. You had an employee of the man interviewing him and doing nothing to press him, or, I mean, this would either be disregarded as total inconsequential fluff, or it would be soundly criticized by anybody with an ounce of a critical space in their brain if it was in any other medium. Couldn't get away with this. This would be like one of Joe Biden's staffers interviewing him. Like you can't get away with it. This is awful.
Yeah, Joe, you've done such a great job as president. And insert anybody. Add Rob Manfred getting interviewed by somebody saying, "Hey, this ongoing lockout
by an owner
is fantastic." Yeah. Rob, we're doing a great job out there, and I'm so glad that you are going to help us get the best deal we could possibly get. Donald Trump, you are doing a great job. Insert anything. Yeah, a state-sponsored media interview. And then people would be saying, "Wow, that was fantastic."
It was a really embarrassing day, and it was eye opening. And I thought Bix did a great job. Brandon did a good job. I think Dave, when he gets a hold of it, either in
the Observer Radio tomorrow will be good.
Is going to destroy it. Dave is going to do a good job. I have full confidence. And there's another small handful of people who will do a good job on this. The rest really exposed themselves in a very embarrassing way. In a very embarrassing, like Ryan Satin, we know the score. He is what he is. I think everybody understands that he's clueless. The guy's just a dope. And some of these other people, I mean, they really, really exposed themselves.
Well, and Satin's an employee too, so that plays a bit of a different factor.
He's
a pseudo employee, an indirect employee, or whatever.
He's an indirect employee,
right?
Yeah.
I should be fair, but these other people are not.
It's to his employer's advantage that. You get what I'm saying here. Like right. It doesn't do him any good to bury the company or anything like that. But and I'm not and this is important too. There is, and then we can move off of this, but I wanted to make this point too, because I didn't make it behind the paywall. There's a place for soft cupcake softball interviews. There's absolutely a place,
right?
For that.
Like Entertainment Tonight, your like that sort of shit. It happens and there's stuff like that in sports as well.
And you can easily ignore it if you don't care about it, but there's a place for it, for stuff that's just human interest stuff or whatever the case. Just letting somebody promote something. There's a place for that. Okay, I'm not saying every interview has to be fucking white knuckle, dig deep, be contentious, get the facts. No, but this is a man who is a billionaire, who is at the top of his industry, who never does these interviews. Okay? Puff pieces don't cut it. We expected it. It's exactly what I thought it would be. But that doesn't mean you have to praise Pat McAfee for it. Pat McAfee deserves no praise. And then in the middle of this whole thing, Pat McAfee has to pretend he's surprised when Vince McMahon says he's giving him a match at WrestleMania. So the whole thing's a fucking fraudulent anyway. But let's talk about how great Pat McAfee did with this interview. I mean, it's a joke. These people are a joke. I've been on this theme for a couple months now because I care. I don't know why I care, but
you should really just stop. Yeah, I don't know why you care. You should really just stop.
And
I'm glad you care, but you should probably just stop.
It's just I don't know why the Denise Salcedo's and Chris Van Vliet's and who that guy from CBS Sports whose name I can't pronounce. I don't know why and Ryan Satin. I don't know why they're not out there today saying, "Man, I could have crushed that. Disappointing. Give me the opportunity next time." That's how they should feel, but they don't. They don't, because they're all waiting to take the bag.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be honest about it. They're all, half of them wouldn't even tell you. Half of them would admit it. But I'll leave you with this. I'll leave the listeners with this. Take Rich's advice. Take my advice today from behind the paywall. Now you know the score. Now you know the score.
Right.
If your eyes aren't open now, they'll never be. Now you know who to listen to and who not to listen to. And one more thing, just in the interest of fairness, for all these outlets throwing roses at Pat McAfee today, I'm going to give you another little nugget, since I'm burning the world down anyway. I'll give you another little nugget. You know, in order to interview an AEW wrestler, you have to submit a list of topics to the company. Okay? That's a fact. I learned that this week. I got that verified. Multiple sources. If you want to interview an AEW wrestler, you got to send a list of topics to the company, which then gets approved or unapproved by AEW. Think about that when you see some of these outlets interviewing AEW talent. That's what they did to get the interview. Pre-approved topics. Rich, if I asked AEW to interview Will Hobbs, random wrestler, the wrestler doesn't even matter, and they asked me to send them a pre-approved list of topics, my reply to them would be, no thanks, I'm no longer interested. They're well within their right to ask for that. I don't have a problem with them asking for it. I got a problem with the media submitting to it. And I'll leave you with that.
There it is. All right. Let's
tug that collar.
No, tug collar. I mean, it is. Yeah, there it is. I mean, am
I off base on that one? I mean, please.
You're not. No, you're not. No,
and that tells you all you need to know about. Now think about who interviews AEW talent.
Right, and we've been transparent on this show before that's largely why we stopped doing interviews. When people would say,
"I don't play that game,"
hey, I want to talk about this, we would say, no, we're interviewing you. We talk about what we want to talk about. We'll give you some rough bullet points, or hey, this is the direction we're going to go. But I'm not going to give you the list of questions, and I'm not going to let you tell me what you are going to talk about. No, I'm interviewing you. And I will get to I'll plug your book, but we're going to talk about some other stuff. You know what I mean? I'll plug your yoga, but we're going to talk about other stuff. We're going to talk about what we want to talk about, or we'll see where the conversation goes. I mean, that is how most people should do it. And I'm somebody who came from a journalistic background. I wrote for newspapers. I wrote for magazines. I did that sort of stuff. I would never in a million years, if I was interviewing a coach or an executive or something like that, and they said, well, hey, here, you have to talk about X, Y, and Z with me. Okay, that's fine. I don't need your quotes then. That's fine.
Yeah, that's it. If I would say I'm no longer interested in interviewing Will Hobbs because I'm not.
And that came up. I mean, that came up in high school sports. That came up where I had a coach that said, I'm only going to do interviews if you ask me about this. And I told my editor, I said, well, I mean, I'm not going to interview him then. There's no point, right? And they said, yeah, sure.
At that point, it's a work.
Right. I said, well, I lose my integrity because I want to ask him about X, Y, and Z, and he's telling me I can't. And he's obviously supported me and said, no, then we're not going to interview him then. There's no point.
And then I come on the air and tell my listeners and my customers, hey, listen, this company, no matter, they want me to submit, and I'm not doing that because that's disrespectful to my listeners and my customers. I would never do that to the people listening to this show. I wouldn't do that. I don't need the interview that bad.
Right.
I like to think that we can get people to listen to this show. They're listening for us, Rich. They're listening for us. That's why we've done one interview in like the last 7 years. I'd say thanks, but no thanks. I don't need it. But this is what's going on. So you think I'm just sitting here pounding it because it's Vince McMahon and Pat McAfee? Well, there's another example.
Yeah, it's across the board.
And listen, if AEW wants to handle it that way, again, that's not on them. Again, that's why I don't think McAfee and McMahon were the clowns.
No.
They weren't the clowns. And AEW's now look, would I prefer if AEW would just give their people media training and maybe teach them how to avoid rather than flat out approving interview topics? Sure. But that's their business on how they want to handle their media. It's it's then in the media's hands whether to play that game or not. And unfortunately, they play it. So now I get to skip town for 2 weeks while Rich deals with all of this. But I mean, someone's got to say it, man. Because today was humiliating. I'm humiliated for these people. It's embarrassing. I want to talk about some wrestling.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's get into some good stuff here. Before we do that, I do want to let you know this episode of the Flagship Podcast is sponsored by our friends at HelloFresh. And with HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. You skip trips to the grocery store, and you can count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. And that's why they are America's #1 meal kit. HelloFresh offers the flexibility, clear my throat there, offers the flexibility you need to easily customize your order online or in the app, easily change your delivery date, your food preferences, and plan size, or skip a week whenever you need to. You can customize your favorite dishes with their new Hello Custom offerings by swapping out one protein or a side for another, upgrading for a more a luxury experience, or even adding a protein to a veggie meal. That means more choices, more variety, and more meals truly tailored to you. HelloFresh cuts back on the time spent in the kitchen with meals ready in around 30 minutes or less, plus quick and easy meals, including 20-minute recipes, low prep, and easy cleanup options, providing an even faster route to put food onto your table. And HelloFresh is 72% cheaper than a restaurant meal of the same quality, and you can save on average over $65 per month when you order HelloFresh instead of grocery shopping. See, I should have had HelloFresh delivered to my house this week, and then I wouldn't be eating salad out, or spinach out of a bowl and a hot dog or whatever. But anyway, go to HelloFresh.com/VOW16 and use the code VOW16 for 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. Again, that's HelloFresh.com/VOW16. and use the promo code VOW16. And you're going to get 16 meals and 3 free gifts. HelloFresh.com/VOW16 and use the code VOW16. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. All right, so we went a little long on WWE stuff, so I don't want to get into the WrestleMania right now. We have time to talk about that, the WrestleMania ticket sales and the Stone Cold and Vince McMahon and how they're going to be related to WrestleMania. I want to push that back to another week because I got some other stuff I think we need to touch on first. So are you okay with that?
Yeah, if we don't have time to get to it, we don't have time to get
That's
to
fine.
it.
And maybe we'll circle back at the end of this show.
We'll give the other topics the time they deserve, and then we'll see what happens at the end.
Right. And we might even get more news about the Stone Cold coming back thing and Vince McMahon facing McAfee and yada, yada, yada.
I just thought it was a little weird that we haven't even touched anything regarding WrestleMania yet at all on this show. And there has been some news. So, but if we get to it this week, but then, even when I'm back, there's still, I think, a week or two.
Right. There is a little bit of time. So.
Yeah.
Let's get to this story here, and then we'll get to the AEW Revolution preview here in a moment. But big news that started off Dynamite this week, Tony Khan purchasing Ring of Honor. He is the new owner of Ring of Honor. He had a press release that said, quote, Ring of Honor's influence on modern professional wrestling is etched permanently in the history books, and this acquisition ensures that its legacy will be kept alive and treated with the utmost respect. So Tony Khan going out there announcing that he is the new owner of Ring of Honor. He has also acquired the video library to Ring of Honor. He has acquired all the assets, IP, and the video library. Per ROH announcer Ian Riccoboni, not ring announcer, normal announcer. He said ticket sales to the WrestleMania weekend show, Supercard of Honor, literally doubled after last night's announcement. So some interesting developments there. People excited about Ring of Honor with this news. But what'd you make of this when you saw the news that and it had been sort of floated around or bandied about that this may be a possibility? But were you kind of surprised that this was the massive announcement that he had talked about? Does this work as a quote unquote massive announcement for you?
I think it's a massive announcement for a certain subset of fans who are, who are similar to Tony Khan. I mean, I think it's a big announcement for guys like me and you. I think it's a big announcement for most of the people listening to us right now. Do I think that there were probably some people in Jacksonville scratching their heads going, Ring of Honor? I've heard of it, but I've never seen a ring. Yeah, I think there's some people who it wasn't a big deal to. But I've said this before, and I think it's really great that, no, I don't like everything about AEW, but I like that there's a wrestling promotion on a major stage that caters to us. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, Tony Khan is one of us, and he caters to us, and I'm never going to complain about that. I'm never going to be one of these nerds that's like, he's got to reach out to the casual. No, fuck that. You can do both. Why can't you do everything? Why can't you, capture the whatever the casual viewer even is? I don't even know what that is. But why can't you capture that fan and get them interested in your stars and also cater to people like us? I've said for years, that WWE is big enough and has a large enough reach and has the resources to be everything for everyone. They just choose not to be. And that sucks, So is it a big announcement? Yes and no. We also don't know what he plans to do with this now. I think that affects whether it's big news or not.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, right now we would basically just be kind of assuming or fantasy booking or just kind of saying, oh, hey, maybe he'll do this or maybe do that. I think it's one of these stories that right now it's a fun deal. It's an interesting deal. I think at the end of the day, it's a smart idea for Tony and AEW to purchase Ring of Honor, because I think that it adds value to AEW, because the inclusion of the video library works twofold. It works in the sense that whenever they are ready, and we've been saying this for time and time again, and people are finally starting to listen a little bit, is that Dark and Dark Elevation. Everybody say, why are they taping 8 hours of Dark? Or why do they even have Dark Elevation? Why? All of it is building up content. In some ways, it's talent acquisition, it's storyline building, it's win-loss record building or whatever, but it's also content building. It's getting content. And when the time is right, and that time will probably come very soon, maybe sooner rather than later, AEW will be on some streaming service, probably something like an HBO Max or whatever and you'll be able to access all the old pay-per-views, you'll be able to access every episode of Dynamite or whatever, and presumably now you'd be able to access Ring of Honor stuff. That would be a part of the fold. Again, I don't know if that's exactly the plan. If it is, again, that adds value to AEW, it adds value to whatever they end up selling. The second part of that too, and I think what the more important part in some ways, is that now you can tell the story of a lot of the wrestlers on your roster more than you could before. Many of the guys that we're going to talk about on this AEW Revolution preview had their biggest moments, their biggest non-WWE tenures were in Ring of Honor. A Bryan Danielson, a CM Punk, an Adam Page, and Adam Cole, like all those guys, a lot of stuff they've done is in Ring of Honor. So now you have the access to use those clips and use those things in video packages and use those things in documentary releases if you want to do that or whatever. And there's a lot of value in that, depending on what Tony paid for it. Like it adds media and it allows them to tell the story of the company more. It also ding dong, it lets you have All In, which is the reason that this company exists. You know what I mean? So that was always the weird thing, is that like the genesis of this entire company kind of lived within another company's IP and assets and library or whatever, and now it doesn't. So now, for whatever that's worth, you have the entire history of your promotion at your hands now, and you can tell the entire story of your promotion now, via video, via whatever. So that is doubly important as well. And that's just the content stuff. That's just the IP stuff. Not only if like then Ring of Honor becomes a developmental territory for them, if it becomes a separate indie that they run. I don't know what the next step is. I have no idea. You have no idea. We just kind of be guessing right now. But I think that there's no way that you could say this is a bad deal in that sense. I think it's just how good of a deal or how important of a deal will something that we'll have to wait and see, down the line.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I'm not even all that interested in whether they're going to run this as a separate touring brand, or I'm not even worried about any of that. Right now, all I know is a really great tape library is in good hands. I trust Tony Khan to handle it properly. I trust Tony Khan to curate this tape library in the right ways. I agree that he's laying the foundation for a streaming service. He flat out said that on the media call. Which you can listen to on the $5 tier behind the paywall with my additional thoughts, which you're not going to get anywhere else. But he flat out said on the media call that that's something he wants to do, a streaming service. And now he's got 20 years of Ring of Honor tapes and 3+ years of his own tapes. You supplement that a little bit with some indie stuff that you can get your hands on, and off you go. But that's what I'm interested in. This Ring of Honor tape library, which has been collecting dust because Sinclair wouldn't do anything with it, either because they didn't want to deal with the editing process or because they didn't see any value in it. Whatever the reason is, they weren't doing anything with it. Tony Khan will. And he has already made a statement saying that he will. And that excites me as a fan. And that's enough for me. Even if Ring of Honor never runs another show.
Right,
that's
I agree.
Enough for me. So I'm happy about it from that standpoint. And I can't wait for that footage to get up. And so it's accessible and easy to access and all of those sorts of things. And that's what's exciting to me. The second part, in terms of whether he's going to run a second promotion or whatever, I don't know. I mean, I thought Dave Meltzer made a great point. Why would you run shows with the Ring of Honor branding when you can draw more people with AEW on the signage?
Right.
I mean, that's a logical way of looking at it. But the other way of looking at it is, well, if you run a second touring brand with the Ring of Honor branding, it's going to come off as second best regardless, because you're never going to promote it or build it to the point where it's the bigger brand than AEW is. But you have all the advantages of, all right, well, now I have more shows to sell to television networks and those sorts of things. But your instinct is going to be to use your lesser talent. So inevitably, it probably becomes a feeder promotion or a developmental promotion or something like that. And, and that's fine. But at the same time, that's not all that exciting to me. I'm way more excited about the idea of these tapes finally being accessible.
I agree. Yeah. And it's like, I did see some people saying, well, okay, this is a bad move because now there's one less place to work in wrestling or whatever. And
they were closing down anyway.
So I'm saying, like, what have you not followed? Like, Ring of Honor wasn't a place to work, and they made it very obvious to many people that we are no longer a place to work. Like, we're going to, pay you, a one-off, or we're going to pay you for this show or that show or whatever. But like, it's not going to be any, the idea that this is some great loss to independent wrestling, like, I mean, I agree, but that conversation is for December. That conversation is not for now. I mean, that conversation was 3-4 months ago, and we did that. We had that conversation 3 or 4 months ago.
They just released everyone else that was under contract 2 days ago. They don't have any. They don't provide any jobs as of March 1st. Half the people lost their job December 31st. The other half on March 1st. So if Tony Khan would have purchased Ring of Honor 2.5 years ago before the pandemic, while Ring of Honor was, still thriving as a company and had all these people under contract, then I could buy the argument of, oh, this is bad because we don't want these two big conglomerates owning everything. And I would be on the side of that argument of, okay, this is one less place to work and, this is not good. But Ring of Honor didn't exist anymore in that form. It was now no different than any other indie. Black Label Pro, Inspire Pro Wrestling. That's what it was. It was a name on a marquee hiring independent contractors on a nightly basis. It was an indie. So I don't buy that argument at all.
Right.
Because this isn't, he didn't buy a living, breathing promotion with
right. And for the record, I mean, that is not missing in modern pro wrestling. A place to work on a Saturday. There's thousands of places to do that, all across the country, in every single region. Like, we're not missing that. We're what we are missing now. And again, feels like we had this conversation in December, but we'll have it again now. Like, what's missing is viable, everyday, regular, contracted promotion. That is missing out of the game. When Ring of Honor goes away from what they used to be to, what they said they were going to be to now whatever they're going to be now, that's kind of lost in that this company is going to be able to compete with you for a contract, is going to be able to, say, well, we really want this guy, so we're going to pay him X, Y, and Z. And okay, well, this guy can say, well, hey, I have a deal from, AEW for this amount. And then Ring of Honor can say, we really want this guy. So we're going to, like, that is gone. The competition in that marketplace is gone. But the idea that, like, oh, there's one less place to work, like, yeah, I mean, they'll everyone that's in that position, that already happened, and they're going to be able to find a gig on a Friday and a Saturday no matter what. Like, we're not at a loss for the X amount of, 3-figure, Saturday indie promotion in your local VFW hall. We're not missing of those. We have a lot of those in wrestling. We just don't have anything above that. And
we don't know what he's going to do with this. What if he does decide to run this as a second touring brand and keep Ring of Honor alive?
Sure.
And it creates 40 more in-ring jobs. Now it's the opposite of what people are saying, because before he bought it, there were no jobs. Now there's 40 new jobs because he has a roster of 40 people with this new Ring of Honor touring brand. So I don't buy that.
Or feels that he could hire more people to AEW proper so that he could spread them out among the 3 shows or whatever. So
either way, it's 40 new jobs. If you're saying it's a roster of, or however many people you want to say are on the roster. Either way, now that's creating contracted jobs, whereas there were 0 as of 2 days ago. The comparison I made was, this is very similar to me of when WWE bought the assets of ECW. I wasn't mad about that because ECW was dead. And that meant that ECW's tapes were going to be far more accessible than they would have been if WWE didn't buy the assets of ECW. Now you can go on WWE Network and basically the entire history of ECW minus the fan cams are right there at your fingertips. And that's a good thing if you want to watch that stuff. This is the same to me, because Ring of Honor was essentially dead Tony Khan bought the tapes, and now all that stuff's going to be accessible.
It's in the best hands it could possibly be in. Yeah, because there's a lot of places these tapes could have gone that would not be, would be much less advantageous to us, where we do think that.
Look at WWE Network. I just gave him credit for how they handled the ECW tapes, right? Because they're all there. Every hardcore TV going back to 1993, every ECW on TNN, every pay-per-view, even some of the house shows before there was pay-per-view. But look how poorly they've handled their other libraries. There's like almost no AWA up. There's barely any Smoky Mountain up. And if WWE would have gotten their hands on this, and allegedly they did make an offer to try to buy Ring of Honor, who knows if we ever would have got the tapes up. I know Tony Khan is going to get those tapes up.
Right.
I'd rather he get them.
Well, look at Evolve. I mean, how many Evolve shows are up there, Yeah,
they were starting to put those up, and then, everything changed with Nick Khan, and they stopped. That's another good example. So really ECW is the only one they handled well. It's probably because they think that there was money in ECW, and there isn't money in any. They probably think nobody cares about Smoky Mountain and AWA and Evolve, whereas they know they made money on the ECW name, so they made sure to do the work and scrub those tapes and get rid of the licensed music and get those up. That's probably what it comes down to with that scenario. Who knows what they would have done with the Ring of Honor tapes? Would we have gotten, a half a dozen episodes like we got with Smoky Mountain, a half a dozen Ring of Honor shows? Or would we have gotten the whole library like like ECW? I don't know, but I tend to think we would have gotten the former and not the latter.
Yeah, I think we're in a better spot given what happened with it. So
plus, Khan might try to run this as a promotion. I mean, he might. I don't know how much money he spent. I mean, you got the same press release I got. He bought the trademarks. He bought the tapes. He bought video and production equipment. He bought. He basically got everything. So, depending on what he spent, he might want more return on his investment than just having those tapes for a prospective streaming service. Or he may look at it as, okay, now I can credibly start selling a streaming service around.
Right. Now I have X amount of hours of content that I could say. Before I had
all they want to hear.
600 hours of content. I'm just throwing a number out. Now I have 1,600 hours of content that I can sell.
Whatever it is. Yeah, I mean, your numbers are very low, but yes.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
600 hours.
I think they have a little more than that. They do that weekly. Yeah. Some of those darks in 2020 were 9-hour darks, but yeah, exactly.
But that's the point. Now he can, and maybe he figures, okay, if I get what I'm just throwing a number, I have no clue what the going rate would be. But if I get a $50 million deal from fucking whoever the fuck, now it's paid for this investment all by itself,
right.
Without ever running a show or, but again, you trust Tony Khan in a scenario like this because he respects wrestling history. He used to go to Ring of Honor shows. That picture floating around of him standing there in his Bullet Club t-shirt like a goober at a Chicago Ring of Honor show.
Yeah.
Probably with Craich 2 rows
I
back.
was going to say, I was probably right next to him.
So he's going to curate it and take care of it well. And I trust him to do that. Anything else to me is gravy. So I'm not really concerned with any. I'm happy about the tapes being in the right hands. That's what I'm happy about. And it's good that WWE owns 90% of wrestling history and not 100%. That's a good thing too. It's good to see someone else get some tapes, and it's a good set of tapes to have.
And I think.
Go ahead.
What's cool is that, like I said, I mean, it is the spiritual successor in a lot of ways, and in some ways, the actual literal successor of AEW as well. So, just from that standpoint, too, of being a wrestling nerd, it probably feels pretty cool to say, hey, well, I have the whole history of my company now at my, it's all here, it's at my disposal, and I can fully now tell the story of my company with All In. And then also just in general, the building blocks of that company. I mean, there was a lot of obviously factors that went into it, but Ring of Honor more than any other company, I would say was important to AEW existing, as it was. So yeah, it's cool to kind of have that now and be able to tell that story.
Hey, speaking of dopey wrestling media, how about our good pal Louis Dangour suggesting that William Regal and Samoa Joe should run Ring of Honor? Does he think that William Regal is like a shoot man who was really running NXT? Does he think that?
The best part. So Samoa Joe wasn't even wasn't even just like he wasn't like the general manager, quote unquote. Wasn't he just like the muscle for the general manager?
Yes.
So
And it wasn't.
God.
Louis, we have fun.
Joe, I can't.
We have fun with Louis, but it really wasn't just Louis. I saw other people tweeting, "Oh, they need to hire William Regal and Samoa Joe to run Ring of Honor." What makes you think that those two men are qualified to run a wrestling promotion? They're not shoot men. They're work men. You know what I mean? Like, they're worked men. They're fake men. Like, Samoa Joe is a fucking character.
Yeah, William Regal wasn't sitting there over the booking sheet going, "Oh man."
William Regal doesn't exist. He's a fictional character.
Darren Matthews.
Yeah. Tony Khan is on the phone. Hey, listen, I want you to run a wrestling promotion. I just spent fucking whatever he's $20 million, whatever he spent on it. You're running this now because you were the on-screen
general manager.
General manager of NXT. Can you handle that?
Yeah. I know Brad Maddox was once the general manager of Raw, and that's a big show. That had like 3 million people watching it at that time. So he's a great guy to call as well.
Give Sonya Deville a call. See if you can poach her. See if you can poach Sonya Deville. Right. Hair up, square up, right? She doesn't take any guff. Call up Sonya Deville. If you see when her contract's up. See if
WWE will reveal who that anonymous general manager was. I mean, he ran Raw for like 2 years.
Yeah.
That anonymous GM. So
hey, what's Teddy Long up to?
That's true. He can make some tag matches. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you have to face the Undertaker, player. Like, get him out there. Right? He has experience. He ran SmackDown for like 8 years.
Yeah.
Get him out there.
That's
before
book.
That's before
the
Louis'
book
time, though.
Yeah.
I don't think Louis was born when Teddy Long was.
Yeah, unfortunately, to age ourselves, I don't think he was born, or if he was like 3. So,
Unbelievable, though, right? Like, what are we doing? That guy gets paid by someone to cover wrestling. That's what I'm talking about here.
I hear William Regal.
Jeez.
Hire Darren, man. Hey, Darren, how's it going, pal? Can you run NXT?
Good God.
Run ROH. Oh, man. The old work is the new work. All right, let's get to since we're talking about AEW here, let us preview AEW Revolution coming up this Sunday. As we said, we're going to do an instant reaction live immediately following the show on Sunday night. So you watch AEW Revolution. I should note, if you're not in the United States and you're going to watch it on Fight, I would highly recommend using our link voicesofwrestling.com/fight. To order that show. It'll help us out tremendously. So if you are non-US, because it is not available in the US, or if you have a VPN, I guess, voicesofwrestling.com/fight if you're going to order the show on Fight TV. But we are immediately following the show. Going to go live on Instant Reaction Live. That's going to be on the $10 tier at Flagship Patreon. .com, voicesofwrestling.com/Patreon, or patreon.com/voicesofwrestling. You'll be able to find it right there. As we said at the top of the show, it's always a fun show. It's a Noto chat room is always going crazy. We give some very, very long thoughts about the show. Usually they go almost as long as the show itself, which is always pretty incredible. But AEW Revolution, Instant Reaction Live immediately following the show on Sunday. And Joe, I got to say, after watching Dynamite this week, I am very excited about Revolution. I think this is going to be a great, great show. Some of the matches have got me really amped up. In particular, and I wanted to start with this one because I think this is one of the best stories being told in wrestling right now, and I think it's one of the best stories being told in wrestling or has been told in wrestling for a long time. And it's the CM Punk MJF match. It's going to be a dog collar match. It's not going to be the main event. Tony Khan did officially announce that Hangman Page and Adam Cole is going to be your main event for the championship. But man, my main event is CM Punk and MJF. I think this has just been absolutely masterful storytelling from beginning to end. I mean, I'm in awe of these guys every single week and what they've been able to do with this. This is just next level, great pro wrestling. It's so pro wrestling too. It's pro wrestling 101, right down to, the dog collar match. You have Punk coming out with a white t-shirt on Dynamite and MJF's in a white suit, and you're like, oh, we know what's going to happen. And then it happened. You know what I mean? They didn't outsmart you. Of course CM Punk's busted open and bloody and bleeding all over his shirt, and MJF's got his blood all over his suit. It's just, it's been, the promos have been great, the build has been great, the dog collar stipulation is great. I mean, I just absolutely love this story. This is nothing has hit me in wrestling like this in quite some time. I mean, I'm in love with this story.
I had you on mute for a second. I had TLB come up here I asked for a drink, and I really wish it wasn't on mute because it would have been great content. She came up here with 2 options, Rich. She gave me an option. She brought up a Coke Z, of course. You expect that, right? You expect a Coke Z to be one of the 2 options that I've offered for my parched throat. The other was a pomegranate water.
Ooh, okay.
A pomegranate water. Do I look like a man
I would say I'll take that, but I don't know if you will.
that wants to satisfy his thirst with a pomegranate vitamin water?
Oh, those are good. Those are really good.
I'm not drinking pomegranate water. I mean, geez. So I took the Coke Z and I told her to hit the bricks with the pomegranate water. So she skedaddled out of here. But yeah, I agree.
In utter shame. In utter shame for even suggesting.
Yeah, well, she learned her lesson. She sees who wears the pants around this house with your pomegranate water. But I said the same thing behind the paywall as you just said. It's to me, if the match lands, and I don't even think it's a question, because when you're talking about MJF and CM Punk, these are two students of the game. I don't know if you picked up on MJF reciting back the same promo that CM Punk once cut in Ring of Honor.
Of course.
Yeah. So
and let me just, I don't want to interrupt you right now, but I said this off air. I said this on Slack or something. I think I've said it before. We've talked about it on the show a little bit, but I just wanted to preface it here. That from the moment that you first told me about MJF, 5 years ago at this point, I mean, he was probably 20 years old when you first told me about it.
Even longer, yeah.
I don't even know what promotions he was, some Northeast promotion he was working for, and you told me, keep an eye on this guy. I'm telling you, this guy is the next thing in this wrestling world. And then I was finally able to see him live, thanks to AEW a bunch of times.
And you instantly get it.
I got it instantly, and I said, wow, Joe wasn't kidding. This guy is something else. To now, what he's doing in AEW, there is nobody in wrestling that cares more about this shit. There is nobody in wrestling that is more of a student of the game. There's nobody in wrestling that puts more thought into what they do than MJF does. Nobody. Yeah. And this isn't, he's 20 fucking 5 years old. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
I was doing nothing. I was doing this stupid shit at 25. I'm doing nothing at 25. I was starting this show. You know what I mean? That's what I was doing at 25. Starting the flagship with you. And we probably horrible shows, just horrific shows at the beginning, I'm sure. But like this is what he's done already at 25. And there are still people out there, there are still holdouts that don't quite get it or whatever. I mean, fine. I don't understand. I don't know what you're missing. I don't know what you're possibly missing anymore. But let me just say, no matter what you think of this guy, whether you like him or dislike him, nobody cares more about wrestling. Nobody is more of a student of the game than MJF is. Everything that he does is thought about, is carefully planned, carefully thought out. It's just, and in a good way too, and not in a way where like he can't deviate from that, but the idea that like, well, hey, we're going to cut this promo, but what I'm going to bring up is going to be in a reference to this, that reference to that or whatever, and you might not get it. Like you said, probably 75% of the people that were listening to that promo, probably 90% of the people that were at Daly's Place that week, last week, had no idea that the promo was in reference to CM Punk's Ring of Honor promo. You know what I mean? Nobody. Yeah. But to the people that did care, the 10%, the 15%, the 20%, whatever it is, that did know and did care, it's like, oh my God, it's great. And nothing's lost in that promo. It's still a very good promo if you have no idea what's going on. But if you do know, it's next level. And I think that's what MJF has really, to me, done more than anybody else in wrestling over the last 4, 5, 6 years or whatever. As long as I've been a follower of him and a fan of him, is just, he just cares about everything he does, and everything has purpose, and everything has meaning, and everything has a little bit of a nugget or a reference or a callback or a throw, without being over the top, without being too over the head. It's subtle, and when you get it, you get it. And God, it's just nobody in this game is as meticulous as him. And the person that I'd put right in that pantheon with him is CM Punk. You know what I mean? There's another guy who everything that he does, he cares about and he's meticulous about and likes to reference and is a student of the game. So you have these two people doing this at the peak of their powers. I mean, God damn, it's unbelievable.
And their boss.
Yeah.
And their boss.
Yeah, who also says, oh, great, yeah, do that. Or says, hey, what about this promo? And then they can go, yeah, sure, I remember that promo, I'll do it. Or yeah, hey, what about this story that we used to do that. I mean, it's like you said, it's nice that a company is for us. You know what I mean? It's so nice that a company and a feud is for us, and that is what this is. So it's put on by a company that cares about us, that cares about fans like us, and it's a feud that cares about fans like us. But
at the same time, when a scumbag like MJF says, "You stupid old man, I'm a snake," the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world. Like, you can still get it.
Right.
Like, you don't need to know that CM Punk said that shit. So it works anyway. It's not like it's so inside that you're losing everybody else. You're not. And what was so great about the last 2 weeks was that a lot of people were fooled and worked into thinking, no, that was way too heartfelt by MJF. It was real. None of it was made up. So they're not going to use that for heat. They'll get the heat another way, but there's no way MJF is just using that to sucker. There were some people who bought into that. And I'm not criticizing those people. What I'm saying is this thing has been so good that it legitimately worked a lot of people. And then when MJF kicked that man in the balls, he revealed himself to what we all know him to be, a total and complete piece of shit. And that's the essence of MJF. And he was even willing to use his own trauma of anti-Semitism and bullying and his hero abandoning him. He was willing to use his own trauma to sucker this man in to take a cheap shot and gain the upper hand. Listen, I said it on the reviews today. This is an all-time pantheon pro wrestling feud. All time. If the match delivers, and I have no doubt that the match is going to deliver. No concerns whatsoever. But the match does have to deliver. You can't go out there and have a shitty match.
Right.
Okay, that does take the edge off if you do that. Or if it's poorly booked. But in this company with these two guys, I'm not worried about that. They're going to handle this properly. Okay? So this is all-time stuff the last 2 weeks. I thought this angle last night was even better than the promo last week. Now, you can't have this angle without the promo. I understand that. One has to happen to get to the other. But I thought that this angle was so... He bled a gusher.
Oh, my God.
I mean, and MJF was so good with the "you stupid old man." And Punk, when MJF came in to hug him, and Punk was like still a little unsure. And then
he was always unsure. Yeah. The great part about it is that Punk came out there and started his promo saying, I don't fully believe this. I know I shouldn't believe this.
Hey, the first thing he said is, am I the bad guy?
Right. But he questions himself, and then throughout the promo, he little by little starts convincing himself, hey, look, I've done some pretty horrible stuff in my life too. I've done some awful things, and you could see as the promo's going on that Punk does kind of sell that initially he didn't buy it. Initially, he's still kind of thinking about it, but then as he talks it through, he goes, you know what? Okay. You sound genuine. I believe you're genuine. Okay.
Yeah,
I buy it. And then right when he does that, you're fine.
He said, I don't think Max is lying. He said.
Yeah.
He said, I don't think Max is lying, but is he trying to, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. The same thoughts that the fans are having overall, because it's so well done. So this thing just entered a whole new pantheon of all-time great shit. It did. And it's the real main event, let's be honest. This feels like the hottest match going into the show. And I don't think that could even be debated. I mean, it's not going to go on last. We know the title match is going on last. That's the right decision. I think the title match should always go on last. Just stick with that. Don't break from that. Don't deviate from that. Don't ever even give people a chance to devalue your title. But this is the main event. And, Tony Khan was very careful on the media call to not say, he kept saying, Hangman and Cole are going on last.
Right. He didn't say the main event. He's going on last.
He doesn't want to devalue the other matches either.
Right.
You know what I mean? So he was very careful with his verbiage from that standpoint because he knows there's a bunch of huge matches on this show. But yeah, that's, it's just phenomenal stuff. We seem to be in agreement that it's an all-time great feud. They need to cap it off with the match, though, whether it's the blow-off or not. And is there ever truly a blow-off in AEW? Because even when they pause things, they still are hanging in the air.
Right.
Let's say Punk wins the dog collar match. Okay. This isn't like WWE where, next week on Dynamite, everybody gets hit with the Men in Black fucking taser. And now that feud doesn't exist anymore. And now these two guys are just in this same universe, but it's as if they never, no, they're going to hate each other forever. Whether the feud is paused now or blown off for now. This is going to last for as long as either guy's in the company. But, yeah, this is all-time shit. It's very easy to be excited about it. And after last night is, without a doubt, the match I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah, and I don't have a great prediction for this one either, which is weird. Like, I feel like it can go a lot of different ways, which I guess is the hallmark of a really good pro wrestling story. I think CM Punk can very easily win. I think MJF could very easily win as well. I think you can have MJF use, the Dynamite ring to get the win. I think you could just as easily have MJF ask Wardlow for the ring, and Wardlow doesn't give it to him. There's so many different scenarios you could go. You have MJF, has a key that he can use to unlock it. There's like 10 different scenarios I have in my head of how this match could end, and that's pretty awesome to think about. Is that I don't know how it's going to end, and yeah, I think if I gun to my head, I think that MJF probably finds a way to chicken shit heel his way out of this, but I think it's just as likely that now we move into the MJF Wardlow thing after this too, where Wardlow doesn't help him or whatever, and CM Punk gets the win because CM Punk's maybe ready to move on and get that big win or whatever. A lot of different ways this can go, and I think, again, hallmark of a great wrestling story is that you come into this and there's a lot of scenarios that could play out, and most of the scenarios would result in you feeling like, hey, that was, a great conclusion to this story, no matter what happens. MJF could win, CM Punk could win, it wouldn't matter. I think both scenarios are going to be able to work out pretty well. What
about the Wardlaw finally talking back last night?
And that's what got me. And again, like, I hate to say it because we've been saying it for 2 freaking years now, but like, it's one of those things where you're like, I don't know. Okay, this Wardlow finally kind of snapped at him. Yeah, he kind of snapped at him and said, hey, I'm helping you. The reason I keep doing this is because I'm worried about you. So yeah, I was like, oh, okay, getting a little saucy, getting a little spicy. So
we're getting closer. But
yeah,
the fact that the thing that's forgotten in that segment is MJF told him he can keep the title shot if he wins. I mean, that could end up being pretty big, if he does win. And, because the idea was he would have to give the title shot to MJF.
Right.
You can keep it, but I don't think you're going to win anyway, and that's what made him go off. So, keep an eye on that. That's a factor too. And that's obviously been just a tremendous long-term story. Look, I know we shouldn't waste a single second on this, but who are these people who say AEW doesn't tell stories? Who are these people?
Dopes. Just absolute dopes.
Do you think they mean it, or do you think...
I think that they don't tell World Wrestling Entertainment stories, and thus those people don't think they tell stories.
Because it's not the storytelling they're accustomed to.
Right. There's a whole generation of people that have only grown up with this type
Get in the ring, grab a mic.
Right. Contract signing,
people... yeah. So you think that they just don't understand the stories being told because they're not always extremely linear, or you don't get 9,000.
But no, they're just dopes. No, they're just dopes. Because how do you not tell this story? Like, if you consume any other thing ever, like, how do you not? No.
Well, see,
they're just dopes. They're dopes.
Well,
Never mind.
Thing. I'm not talking about the trolls or the Twitter ads.
No, I know. Yeah, those people are completely out of sight, out of mind. I don't care.
Forget them. I'm talking about like people in media who say it because they do. Like, oh, AEW needs to tell more stories. They're not great at their storytelling. They don't tell any like what? What are you watching the same show? What are we doing? Like, they've been telling this Wardlow story for 3 years. 3 years, Rich. But I guess if you're not getting video packages every week and the Wardlaw standing there with a mic reciting everything that happened last week, even though we all watched already, and then Wardlaw saying, take a look at this, and then it plays again on the video.
right.
Like, maybe because it's not
putting
that way.
MJF's face on weird things. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe the answer is just that these people are stupid.
Yes.
Is that the answer?
I think that is the answer. Let's go with that. Let's do that.
Okay.
All right, let's go to the whole show too. I just wanted to talk about CM Punk and MJF at the beginning here, but let's run down the entire show here. 2 pretty interesting pre-show matches. I think I have to watch the pre-show because you got Hook versus your boy QT Marshall. That's a big time. They are making sure that this is a Rich Craich offer match here. They are making sure that I watch the pre-show by putting Hook and QT Marshall on there, and I got to watch the pre-show, Joe. I can't miss this.
Listen, I see people complaining like, QT Marshall. It's a pre-show match, and it's Hook, and if you're paying attention to Rampage, they're feuding.
Yeah.
What's the problem?
Dopes is the problem.
Hook's going to beat him in 40 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. Marshall's going to go out there. He's going to flex. He's going to act like he's a tough guy. Hook's going to throw 2 fucking arm bars on him and then do a hip toss, put an arm bar on, and he's going to tap him in 10 seconds. Yeah.
And it's going to be cool as fuck.
Yeah, it's going to rule.
He threw Aaron Solo at him, and he beat him. He threw the other guy who he called his top student, I forget the name they gave him, at Hook, and Hook beat him. And now he gets to face the fucking sensei, right? This is the cap off the feud because he's been he's been coming at Hook for months. Again, this company doesn't tell stories, right? They've been telling this story for months. Like, this has been Hook's through line the whole time. Like, QT Marshall is annoyed at the attention he gets and how he appreciated for helping to train him. And now they're having a match. And it's going to rule. It's going to be cool as hell. It's going to be 30 seconds. So, yeah, I'm all about this.
Also on the pre-show, Chris Statlander versus legit Layla Hirsch. They've been doing a little bit of build for this one. I mean, it's again, they don't tell stories, but I think they've been telling an interesting story with this. And yeah, it makes the pre-show it's not a skippable pre-show. There are two things that have some sort of stories and some sort of backbone to them on this pre-show. And Statlander and Hirsch right there with Hook and Marshall as well in terms of, a match that has been, it's not just thrown on there to throw on there. There's a purpose behind it.
I've been critical of this storyline. But it has been a storyline. This isn't just a random match with two people.
Right.
They were teaming in trios matches with Red Velvet, and they just couldn't get along. Finally, it came to a head, and they broke up. And my whole problem all along was twofold. Number one, why were Statlander and Red Velvet still putting up with this person when she was being a pain in the balls on every match? They should have just stopped teaming with her long before that. So it's the kind of logic gap you don't typically get in AEW. So that bothered me. The other thing that bothers me about this is I feel like this is a YouTube level feud. I feel like if you do Layla Hirsch, Chris Statlander on the YouTube shows, I don't have any problem with it. In fact, I think the YouTube shows should do more of that and have more matches that are meaningful and between wrestlers that are feuding and with wrestlers who could use the reps like Layla Hirsch. I just don't think this is pay-per-view worthy, even for a pre-show. I would have much rather have seen Jamie Hayter versus Mercedes Martinez, which I think, number one, is a much better match, first of all. Number two, I think has been built better with a better story. Jamie Hayter has been eye-rolling and being annoyed with Mercedes Martinez for like weeks and weeks because she felt like Britt disrespected her by bringing somebody else in to do the dirty work. So she didn't like Martinez to begin with. And then when it finally came to a head, who was the one that attacked Martinez? It was Jamie Hayter because she had all this pent-up frustration because she felt like Britt didn't respect her and she didn't like the new girl in town. So, and it would have been a better match. So I would have liked to have seen Jamie Hayter and Mercedes Martinez in this spot. They went with Statlander, Layla Hirsch. It's just not a story that I have enjoyed. It involves a wrestler that I don't think is very good. So it's not for me, but I get it and I understand why it's there.
And then the main show, we'll start with the TBS Championship match. Jade Cargill, Tay Conti. This one has potential to be. This is going to be a very interesting match in the sense that, and Jade segments and Jade matches are this way as well. There's a presence. There's a weight to everything Jade Cargill does because she's just a charisma machine and she just has a different look and feel to her, and it's pretty awesome. It's pretty great to see like the budding, quote unquote stardom or whatever's going to happen with Jade Cargill. I have no idea, but like it feels like you're in on the ground floor right now and you feel like there's something kind of happening. The problem though is the bell to bell is still a little rough. And when she's in there with a great worker, it's like, okay, that's fine. Like you have no, that most of the good women's workers on that roster are going to be able to work with her just fine and get things worked out and yada, yada. It's going to be great. But like with Tay Conti, it's a little bit of a worry because she's also the somebody that kind of rises to the occasion when she's there with somebody that's pretty good. And putting these two in the ring together it's tricky. I don't know exactly how it's going to go. And maybe I'm working myself into a shoot and Jade Cargill's just going to beat her in like 2 minutes and it's not going to matter and it's not going to, I don't sense that that's the way they're going. But Joe, where do you stand on this match? Do you think that's something that's going to be quick, or do you think it's something that's they're going to try to have these two go out there and have a back and forth type of match?
It's with Cargill, it's a mixed bag. I mean, there are times where I watch her and I'm thinking, oh, she's coming around. Mm-hmm. And then the very next week, it's like, oh my God, she's the shits. And I think she's still very inexperienced. She's still a literal rookie. I don't even know if she has a full year of matches under her belt yet. And she's very green. And what the company has decided to do is, fuck it. We're just gonna plow through it because of her aura and the fact that she comes across like a superstar and that she can talk and that she looks the way she does. We are just going to plow through the work, hope she improves on the fly, but she's getting pushed. For better or worse, we're pushing her. That's the decision they've made. So some nights it's going to look like there's something there, and other nights you're going to be reminded that she's super green.
Right.
I don't know what's going to happen here because I think Tay Conti in a lot of ways is very overrated because I think she's better than Jade, but I think it's the same you don't know what you're going to get kind of element with her, where she looks phenomenal one night, and then you're like, she doesn't look that great.
Yeah, this is the type of
this could be a train wreck.
It really could. Yeah, it's the type of match that you kind of, if I was running, I would kind of have them here all weekend trying to kind of plan it out and get it kind of ready. But you also don't necessarily want to do that too much. You don't want them to be too reliant on that, because what happens in that situation, you have a match where you have two green workers and you say, okay, here's every spot you're going to do and here's everything that's going to happen, is the second that breaks down, and that's perfectly plausible that would break down. And I've seen that happen on the indies as well with two green workers who go out there and they've been in the back for the last 2 hours, planning this entire match, then something goes wrong and then they have no fucking clue how to get the thing back on track. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And that is my worry with Tay and Jade, is that they're not that. So it's this kind of weird thing where, yeah, you can plan it out to make it a good match, but then if something goes wrong, it's going to go real wrong. But you can't also trust them to get in the ring and just call it. You know what I mean? Like Danielson and Daniels probably just said 4 minutes before they went out there, all right, we got what, 12 minutes? All right, let's go out there and work. And just went out there and worked a wrestling match because they're two, ridiculously great professional wrestlers. Like Jade and Tay aren't that. So there's got to be this weird balance that you're going to have to play of, okay, have some spots that you have in mind, having some things you have in mind, but also, yeah, we got to keep this kind of tight. We got to keep this kind of basic because neither of you are tremendous workers. Or, like I said, we're going to be working ourselves into a shoot and the bell rings and Jade beats her in a minute or whatever, which is I think not impossible.
Well, the thing about Jade is I can't really look. The fact is she's a draw now. I mean, her segments are all her quarter hours are popping numbers. They've gotten her over. So, look, historically in wrestling, not everybody who's over is a refined worker. I mean, sometimes you just got to deal with it, with the warts. So from their perspective, she's over and they've created a potential star and she's well on her way to becoming a star. Mm-hmm. So that's really what matters. Now, look, when it, like her match with AQA fell apart, neither one of them knew what to do to get it back on track. And that's the danger with her, because she's so super green, and not having her in there with a Mercedes Martinez or Jamie Hayter or something who's going to know what to do. And in that instance, you had the referee, I think it was Bryce Remsburg, who ended up having to call the spots because both of them froze because they didn't know what to do when it went off the tracks. So that's the danger you're going to have with Jade right now until she gets that experience. And that takes years. I mean, there's wrestlers 3, 4, 5 years in who are still green in a lot of ways. I mean, I just put an article behind the paywall, $10 tier, where I break down a lot of the NXT 2.0 talent and my fair and sometimes brutal assessments of what they are and where they are. And, and there's a lot of those themes in that article as well. That's getting good reviews, by the way. $10 tier if people want to read that. But yeah, so who knows with this? This could be, or they can go out there. Look, I thought the post-match angle last week to set the match up was very good. Mm-hmm. But that's 15 seconds. So I don't know.
Tornado Trios match. This is a match, unfortunately, I can't say that I care very much about, even though I like a lot of the people in it. Andrade, Matt Hardy, and Isaiah Cassidy versus Darby Allin, Sammy Guevara, and Sting. You're going to have to sell me on this one, Joe.
Well, I mean, I'd much rather just have a Sammy Guevara title defense against somebody.
Yes.
But, look, they're going to do a Tornado Trios. I think Khan wanted to get Sting on the show. I think he wants Sting on all the pay-per-views. He's paying Sting 7 figures, and he wants him on the pay-per-view. That's what this comes down to.
Yeah.
He's paying CM Punk a shit ton of money. He's on every fucking TV show. Okay? That's just, this is like sports where you give a big free agent, like in baseball, you pay some big free agent, and he's hitting 180 in fucking May. You're not benching him.
No, he's still batting fourth. He's still batting fourth because you're
paying him $28 million a year. It's like he's going to have to hit his way out of this, but we're going down with the ship. That's, I think, what's happening here. Do I
have to watch Matt Hardy, though?
I hope.
What can I do to not watch Matt Hardy?
If it were up to me, I would never watch Matt Hardy again.
You know how you don't care about Dominic, and you will never care about Dominic? I will never care about Matt Hardy. Ever.
Do you like Andrade thinking Darby's a small child? Because I love that.
That is pretty good, yes. I do like that. I just really don't want Matt Hardy. Honestly, if you replace Matt Hardy in this match, I'm probably more into it. I can't care about Matt Hardy anymore. And they're going to try to make me care about a Hardy Boys reunion, and I really don't care about the Hardy Boys anymore. So,
Andrade thinks Darby is a small child who works for Sting.
Yes, which is fantastic. Yeah,
he thinks Darby is child labor for Sting.
Which might be a shoot. I wouldn't put it past Andrade legitimately thinking at one point that Darby Allin was a child. So
it's just hilarious.
Yeah,
I mean, I love that story. But yeah, you got to get Matt Hardy out of there. Would I rather just have a TNT title match? I would. But it could be fun. I mean, they're going to brawl all over the building and fucking. You know something I've noticed? I talked about this behind the paywall as well. No one ever even has the discussion anymore of, oh my God, can we trust Sting out there? It's like he just is.
Right. Oh yeah. We did used to have those. Remember?
No, yeah, everyone did.
He's going to fall into. He's going to collapse into a pile of dust at any point.
Now he's just a guy on the roster who wrestles like once every 2 months, and he's good every time he goes out there. So at some point, age is going to catch up, and they do use they do hide him in a lot. They do protect him in a lot of ways, but that's smart. And I don't think the Sting thing, like you're never in fear it's going to become a farce. Whereas before we saw him wrestle, there was that fear that this could be a farce, but no one even talks about that anymore because he's been really good.
The next match for Wrestling Dontaku 2022 is Jurassic Express, Red Dragon, and the Young Bucks in a World Tag Team Championship match, a 3-way tag team match here on. Revolution. I said Wrestling Dontaku. Revolution is the match that this is on. So
Freudian slip.
Yeah.
You're thinking of all those Wrestling Dontaku.
Yeah, this is classic booking here. Red Dragon, Young Bucks, and then another team. You know what I mean? Like in this just classic 2014 to 2016 New Japan undercards here. But this should be just as good as all those matches were. Probably, we always talked about those matches. They were good, but they were just boring because they were the same thing every single month, every single time. But when they were done, we'd be like, I don't know, 4 stars. That was pretty good. You know, like, we would preview it. We would preview it and be like, fuck, it's goddamn Time Splitters versus Red Dragon and the Bucks again. And then the match would be done and we'd be like, that was really good. That was great. And then the next month we go, god damn it, it's this match again. But they were always really, really good. Vice. Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh, great. Roppongi Vice and the Red Dragon and the Bucks. Here we go again. Yeah, I don't want to see. And then, it'd be done. It'd be 3 3/4 or 4 stars. It'd be great.
Third best match on the show. Tremendous stuff.
Yeah, I could see that being the exact same scenario here. I mean, I have no doubt this match is going to be good.
I only have one wish. Just get the titles off of the Land of the Lost Dorks and let's fucking move on with this. I can't stand them. They just drive me nuts. The dopey dinosaur and fucking Tarzan boy. No use for it. Is Christian just a manager now? Like, what are we doing? Like,
I'm not sure what we're doing with Christian right now.
Is he injured and it's just
undisclosed? He is at this current time not outworking anybody, so I'm not sure.
No, he hasn't. No, he's not outworking literally anyone. So I don't know what's up with that. If we're going to turn Christian on Jungle Boy and then, have Jungle Boy win a feud against Christian, which I think would be smart to do, can we fucking shit or get off the pot?
Let's do that. I like them waiting on the MJF Wardlow thing, but I would like for them to stop waiting on the Christian versus Jungle Boy thing. That'd be
I mean, if that's what the plan is, I'd like to fucking because you could have Christian beat the dinosaur guy to heat that up, and then but then obviously you want the fucking Jack and the Beanstalk booties to beat Christian in the end. Because that's the, obviously you want the veteran to put the future who you think is, I'm still not sold, but who you think is a future star over. But can we just get to that already? And can we please get the tag team titles off of these guys? This is one of the acts in the company that they do nothing for me. In fact, I kind of don't like them a little bit.
Yeah, I'd be really down with the Red Dragon Young Bucks thing for a little while too. So hopefully this is a conduit to the Christian Jungle Boy breaking up thing. Maybe the titles get on the Red Dragon, and then we just have Red Dragon Bucks, feuding for the titles. Would be pretty great moving forward. But I think this will be a pretty fun match because it features the Young Bucks, so I have no doubt that it's going to be good. Because
hey, did you catch Khan saying, "I'm gonna do trios titles, but I'm waiting for Kenny Omega to come back"? That was interesting that he gave that away.
Yeah,
because that's smart for a couple different reasons. Number one, Kenny Omega is pushing 40. He has a million injuries he's coming off of. And you can put him in the trios division where he doesn't have to work quite as hard. He's still going to kill himself anyway because he's Kenny Omega. But he's taking 1/3 of the bumps. Right? So it's smart from that perspective. It's also smart from the perspective of if you're going to roll out a new division and a new title, if you're going to center the division around Kenny Omega, it tells the fans that those titles matter and are important.
Absolutely, yeah. One of a guy who was just recently a world champion is now a trios champion, so these titles matter. Yeah, they're not just being put on, the Gun Club. If the Gun Club are your initial champions, that's not good. You know what I mean? That kind of tells you it's a dork title right off the bat. I'm with you.
Yeah,
that's
if it's
pretty
the
smart.
Gun Club feuding with the Wingmen, no one's going to pay attention to the
Right,
titles.
right.
But, and we went really deep on the roster there. I don't think they'd go that deep. But the point here is, now you have a top star.
Hey, the Gun Club, they're like 89-1, man. I don't know what you're talking about here. So
that's true, but the Gun Club, like they're like the college football team that hasn't beaten anybody. See, that's the thing with the Gun Club.
Yeah.
Like whenever they
strength of schedule, their strength of schedule not good for the Gun Club.
Yeah. and Tony Khan's such a dork that he works that into the fucking
Right. Like there's idiots that don't understand sports that are like they're 89-1. Why are they not? And then like the BCS of years past, they're like, well, no, we're not gonna put
And they play in the Sun Belt.
Right. I don't care that San Jose State's 12-0. They haven't played anybody.
That's why it took the Gun Club like 3 years to get to number one. And I'm not even sure if they got all the way there. I think they just
great. Beating up on New Mexico State is not the same as beating Ohio State. So no, we're not going to count San Jose State as a top tier. Louisiana Lafayette. No, you're going to have to wait in line, guys. You're not quite there yet. So
anyway, that's why it's smart, I think, to roll out those titles around Omega, and presumably the Bucks would be his partners.
Right.
But that is very smart, and they've done a great job with anytime they've rolled out a title, putting it on someone who matters. Cody established the TNT title right off the bat. Now Jade Cargill is getting the Goldberg push to establish the TBS title. And you're going to center the trios titles around Kenny Omega. It's just that's how you need to do it.
And for anybody who's about to say, oh, you mentioned San Jose State and they're not in the Sun Belt and da-da-da-da, you don't get the college football conference explain me, because I'm a man who still plays NCAA 14. I know they're in the Mountain West, all right? I just brought up San Jose State. I did bring up a Sun Belt team in Louisiana Lafayette, though, so there you go.
New Mexico State was in the Sun Belt for a while.
Were they in the Sun Belt, or I forget where they were. They bounced all over the place.
While. I think when Hal Mumm was the coach.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so I was in an NCAA whatever year online league that was a Sun Belt league, and New Mexico State was my team.
Hell yeah. I think I was in that league with you. Yeah, we used to do the break off of that league that I think you and I were both in was we did a 1-star thing where you had to stick with like a 1-star. I forget what our rules were, but it didn't necessarily have to be a Sun Belt, but you had to be a 1-star team. And it had to be like a pathetic 1-star team, and you had to really like you couldn't leave until they were like a 4-star team or whatever. I mean, that league we went on for years on that league, and I was New Mexico State in that league as well. It was like seven years into that I was finally able to move to Syracuse or whatever. You couldn't leap too much else though. You had to like stick with kind of a shitty team. So when I moved to Syracuse, it was like, holy crap! I felt like I was the king shit in that league. I was like, oh my God, I can recruit 3-star guys now. Look out! Like it's over.
Yeah.
So
that in our league we had you could only do 1 pump fake per drive because the cornerbacks were so dumb in that game that they would fall for the quarterback pump fake at like an 80% clip. So we had to put, what do they call it in NASCAR to slow the cars down?
Restrictor plates. The restrictor plate.
Put a restrictor plate on the fucking
on pump fakes. Yeah.
On pump fakes. The R1, the pump.
Oh yeah.
It's embedded in my fucking brain. The fucking pump. Yeah, absolutely. Anyway.
All right, let's get to John Moxley, Bryan Danielson, another feud that I absolutely just fucking love in the simplicity of it. It's just two professional wrestlers. They don't like each other. There's uneasiness about each other. Nobody had to get run over by a car. Nobody had to be set on fire. It's just two dudes that talk a bunch of shit, and now they're going to find out on Sunday which one is a better wrestler, Bryan Danielson or John Moxley. And Joe, I'm here for it. I love this feud.
Yeah, well, Moxley said, look, man, I think it's a good idea if we come together and just tear ass through everybody, but I don't team with anybody before I bleed with them.
Yeah, it's great.
And that's total Moxley shit. And then Danielson's like, all right, dude, but I'm telling you, you're going to be the only one bleeding. All right, let's get it on.
I love it.
Let's do it.
It's so great. Yeah, you could totally buy that, like, this is the type of match that, when they're done, they'll sit in the ring, arm in arm, light up a cigarette and go, that was a good one, pal. You know what I mean? Like one of those things where like we always say like, or people will say like when you're fighting with your friends is like the most brutal fights. But then when it's over, it's like, all right, man, we good? You good? All right, cool. Like, you know what I mean? Then we're good. Like, and I have no doubt that when this feud's over or this fight's over, that these two guys are going to like hit each other in the chest and be like, all right, You proved something there, pal. All right, let's get it. And then they're probably gonna be buddies after this. Like, I don't know if they're gonna be a team or whatever, but like I fully buy that this is the start of a very, very good friendship between these two.
You know what?
So.
I haven't figured out where it's going, and I'm glad.
Yeah.
I don't know if, they're gonna earn each other's respect. And
yeah, maybe Danielson's going to be just such a fucking prick about it, and Moxley's going to say, "Hey, you proved it to yourself to me," and Danielson's going to slap and say, "I don't have to prove shit to you, dude. Who are you?" Like,
Yeah, exactly. Maybe they continue to feud because Danielson has still been very much a heel, and I thought when he got away from the Hangman feud, he would kind of drift back towards the middle, but he took a powder last night instead of fighting Moxley.
Yeah, I think he's having too much fun. I think he's just loving it.
He's still a heel, so I don't know if it works to put them together. And realize this Danielson idea of, let's get Lee Moriarty away from Matt Sydal. Let's get Daniel Garcia away from 2.0. These guys are, we can do more for them than these guys can. Like, I don't know if that's ever going to happen because Danielson has just been leaning too far heel. And so I don't know, but I'm glad I don't know who's going to win. I have no feel for who's going to win the match. I don't know what direction any of this is going to go. I do know that Bryan Danielson is having the time of his life. He's wrestling Lee Moriarty. He's wrestling Daniel Garcia. He's wrestling Christopher Daniels. This is the shit he wanted to do on SmackDown when he wanted to wrestle Drew Gulak and all these other guys. And now he's getting a chance to do all the shit he wants to do. And they're
How great was the Danielson one too? Oh,
I know it was. I had a smile on my face
the whole time. Yeah, and you just know that these two dudes, like I said at the beginning, like when I was talking about Cargill and Conti, you just know that those two dudes got to the arena. They knew they were facing one another. They didn't talk for a minute before they went out there. They're at, right before they go through the curtain, they got 12 minutes. All right, cool, let's go out there and do it. And then just like two professional wrestlers having a great professional wrestling match for 12 minutes. Wrestling is so easy when you're good at it. You know what I mean? And when you let good wrestlers just be good wrestlers, it is stupid easy how it is, how simple it can be.
I would love to see them form a team and beat the Cavemen Geeks for the tag team titles.
That'd be great.
I don't think that's where this is all going.
I don't think so. Yeah, not my prediction, but hey,
I'll settle for the Young Bucks and Red Dragon having a 3-month
right.
feud. I'll settle for that.
Then we have Chris Jericho, Eddie Kingston, a little bit more, less, maybe the exact opposite, the polar opposite of Moxley and Danielson here. Jericho and Eddie Kingston. What have you thought of this build so far? Because there's weeks that I like it, there's weeks where I don't, and I don't know what my assessment is fully of this match.
I think the whole I'm a superstar, I'm a sports entertainer, I didn't even know your name because you're just a scrubby indie wrestler from the streets. I think that's a brilliant build because that, rallies people around Eddie Kingston. It's the perfect motivating factor for his character. Are there two different Chris Jerichos? How did he get in that kind of shape that quickly?
I'd never know with that guy.
I mean, 3 weeks ago, he looked like a fucking blimp. How did this happen?
I'm never quite sure. He also continued. Well, now he's actually got real abs. Like he used to have because he would always amaze me with he would be fat, but he would also have abs, and I could never understand how he would do that. And now he's just got normal abs. Yeah, he looks tremendous. He looks like he lost like 45 pounds in 2 weeks. So I know
he looks like he's 35 years old.
Yeah, I don't know what's been going on. I've heard that he has maybe been consuming less of one thing that he was consuming a lot of before.
So you're saying he got off the sauce.
I'm not saying that. I'm just alluding that, the pop, Joe. He was drinking too much pop.
Okay.
And I think that he's drinking less pop now. And he
switched to pomegranate water.
Right. He switched to pomegranate vitamin water, and it appears to be doing wonders to his. I mean, shit. Look at Jon Moxley, man. I mean, that's another guy too that like I didn't even quite notice how he was looking for a while, but like one time I was watching Dynamite and the nurse walks in and goes, "Holy shit, what happened to Jon Moxley?" And I was like, I don't know, just had a kid, he's a little stressed out or whatever. And she goes, "No, he looks like awful." And I was like, "Yeah, he looks fine, whatever."
A little puffy.
Yeah, and then I was like, he just had a kid. He's whatever. And then when he came back, she was watching. You go, "See, that's how he's supposed to look." And I was like, "Well, yeah, now I think I know why you thought he looked so terrible now." But like, yeah, him and I don't know if that's the same thing Jericho's doing, but yeah, he looks great. He looks tremendous. So whatever he's doing, keep it up.
Yeah, no, he and I'm sure it's going to help his performance.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You got to be a little terrified when Stay Puffed Marshmallow Man Jericho era was like, thinking of doing lion salts. It's like, hey, listen, buddy, that might not be the best idea at the current condition you're in. but I feel like he could do everything again now. He looks great.
No, he looks tremendous. Yeah.
But the build, I think, is a smart build. And he had the uneasy fist bump with Proud and Powerful last night. So I think that's going to play into the match at some point. And we'll see. But it's an interesting match. Look, Chris Jericho has become a solid and valuable little mid-carder for this company. It's very obvious he's not going to be a main eventer anymore, nor should he be. He helped you get off the ground. His title reign was much needed and very valuable. La Champion, all that shit. He's an icon of the company forever because of that. But now you've elevated other people, and Chris Jericho is a super valuable mid-card guy to have for feuds like this. And he's another guy who's probably having the time of his life helping a guy like Eddie Kingston get over. So, and all of his quarter hours still pop too. People aren't sick of Jericho. No matter what Twitter tells you, don't listen to Twitter. People are not sick of Chris Jericho because his quarter hours still pop as well. I cover his stuff every week. So good for him for getting in shape. And this is a nice little mid-card match.
Face of the Revolution ladder match: Keith Lee, Orange Cassidy, Powerhouse Hobbs, Ricky Starks, Wardlow, and then one of Christian Cage or Ethan Page. They're deciding that on Friday's Rampage of who will be the last guy in there. So I guess
hopefully Christian.
Yes. And then otherwise, I don't know. This could go a lot of different ways. I think Wardlow's a very interesting one that could play obviously up, play into CM Punk and MJF. I think giving something to Keith Lee and getting him something to sink his teeth into pretty early would be fun as well. I don't know. There's a lot of different ways this can go, but I think Keith Lee, I would say Hobbs, Wardlow are all, to me, guys that I think could easily win this thing. I don't know about Cassidy or Starks, but then watch me be wrong and it's going to be Cassidy that's going to win. So
I feel like it's wide open, but I think I'm going to eliminate Keith Lee because the last 2 weeks where they've had Starks and Hobbs confronting him, that kind of tells
he's got something else. He's got something else he can sink his teeth into for a little bit. Yeah,
that's going to be the direction. Yeah. I think it's going to be Keith Lee feuding with Team Taz coming out of this match. They'll probably somehow eliminate him in a dastardly way or something. Like I could see Keith Lee like shoulder blocking Starks like over the top rope, and then Starks and Hobbs like yanking him out from the outside, something like that, and then they'll feud, and then whoever's going to win this match is going to win it. I did love a couple weeks ago Starks saying to Hobbs that where Lee said the only guy I'm familiar with is Ricky Starks, and then Starks enters the scene and brings up kind of their Texas history where he's like, oh, yeah, I am the only guy you're familiar with. We may have crossed paths in another territory. Shout out Inspire Pro. Right?
Yeah. Oh man, come on.
I mean, that's good stuff, So it's funny that they kind of weaved, like their Texas indie history into this thing too. So, but yeah, anyway, that's why I kind of throw Lee out. Otherwise, he would have been the favorite. But you never know. I mean, I just don't think that was a throwaway thing where MJF said, go ahead and win it, you can keep it. So, unless that's too obvious. It's good that I can't figure it out.
Mm-hmm. A feud and a match that I think is not getting enough love for the build that it's that has led to this. The match that I think is going to be tremendous is AEW Women's World Title here. Dr. Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa. I think, talk about a feud and a build, and talk about, like you said, that once their matches are quote unquote over, the feud isn't over. In WWE land, these two would have faced each other last year. It would have been over, and then they would move on, and they would never, they would cross paths again, but it'd be a totally different feud. It would not. This is like, you can weave this in and out of the last year and a half or whatever. You can weave this in and out of, the last year. It's something that AEW I think does and makes it. It's not an easy thing to do. It takes care, it takes thought, it takes planning, it takes practice or whatever to do it. But it's something that I love that AEW does. That this feud has a path that goes a year plus, even if these two weren't at each other's throats for a year, but it can kind of get back to this and reference a past moment or whatever. But I think, this specific part of the build, I don't think has been tremendous stuff, but I do think these two being kind of lifelong or quote unquote lifelong, feuding, or rivals in AEW is going to be pretty cool. And I'm really looking forward to this match. And I feel like it's kind of getting lost on this card where there's a lot of other really good stuff on this card, but it shouldn't be, because I think this is going to be tremendous and has every chance to be the best match on the entire show.
Wow, I think you summed it up pretty well. I mean, you left me lost for words. What does that tell you?
The first.
I always have words.
Well, then I guess we'll get to the championship here. This will be the quote unquote last match of the night. Hangman Page versus Adam Cole, AEW World Title. I hate to say that I'm kind of indifferent on this match, and it's not because of Hangman Page. I thought if you would have told me that, hey, it's going to be Adam Cole versus Hangman Page, and the reason you're not going to be into it is Hangman Page, and I'm going to probably say, yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds about what I would say. It's not Hangman Page though. I think his character's been pretty good. I've kind of enjoyed what I've seen from Hangman Page. I don't know if I'm feeling the Adam Cole character. I don't think I'm feeling Adam Cole as a main eventer. I don't think I'm feeling Adam Cole as a guy that has a chance to win the title. And I don't exactly know why. I maybe you can try to reason me through this of why I should care a little bit. I'm just kind of like, I don't know, like give me Punk and MJF, give me Moxley and Danielson, give me Baker and Rosa, give me all this other stuff on this card, but I have just not that much. I don't know. I'm just not that interested in this match.
It's not a hot match. But I think Hangman Page is doing the best work of his life right now. And I think that Adam Cole is a guy who, we say this all the time, in a big spot always delivers a big time match. So I think despite the fact that a lot of great stuff is going to precede it, I think these guys are going to deliver in the main event and have a great match that gets over with the crowd. So I'm not worried about that.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Do I feel like it's a hot match coming in? I don't. It's not a cold match either. It's just, all right, decent enough build, but I'm not feeling like this is, I mean, I said it at the top. I mean, it's obviously not nearly as hot as Punk and MJF. And this company is deep enough now with such big stars that you got to work to be the hottest thing on the show. You got to work to be the real main event.
Right.
And that's a good thing. It's not just a situation where, just because it's the title match, by default. No, Hangman Page, he's still kind of finding himself. I've enjoyed his title reign, but he's still kind of finding himself in terms of being a top star. And it's going to take some time, and it may never happen for him to get on the same level as a CM Punk or a Bryan Danielson, and in my opinion, an MJF. I think MJF's ahead of him. Despite the fact that one has the title and one doesn't. And, that's wrestling. That's competitive. That's, earning your spot. That's one guy's hotter than the other. Maybe we should do a title change. Yeah, that's the history of wrestling, the way it's supposed to work. One guy's hotter than the other, they get the spot. And I just don't feel like this is the hottest match on the show. And, I know CM Punk is a tough act to deal with, but that's how it goes, So, but I think it'll be a great match. And I'm not trying to slag off on the Hangman. I love the Bryan Danielson stuff. I love the Lance Archer match. I mean, loved it. And I think that these two guys are going to have a great match. And I've really enjoyed the Hangman Page title reign. I kind of get the sense there's a feeling that I have when it comes to Hangman that this is not going to be his definitive title reign in this company. I feel like he's going to lose this title at some point, and his best and most definitive and most well-remembered run will be the next time he wins the title.
Right. Somewhere down the line, it's going to happen. Yeah. And again, like I said, I think I've been totally fine with Hangman. I think him as champion has been fine with me. I very rarely am a Cole guy. Like with that being said, like I'm positive this match is going to be good. Like Adam Cole always delivers in the ring. I always like his in ring. I'm always at a loss for really caring about an Adam Cole match going in. A lot of times they will make me care, and he will make me care as the match goes on. I mean, one of the best moments I've ever seen of live wrestling was him and Gargano in New York at TakeOver. Going into that match, I didn't give a shit, but I thought he was really good in that match. I thought Gargano was great in the match or whatever. And that's kind of how I've been with Cole for a while. So I can understand that some people might be way into this if you're a big Cole guy, but to me, I don't know. It just hasn't been. And like you said, it's tough because like when you're on the same show as MJF and CM Punk doing like literally one of the best feuds I've seen in the last decades or whatever. Like it's going to be hard to kind of follow that up. But like you said, that's kind of the problem with this company. I mean, fuck it.
Environment.
Sorry,
bad.
like
yeah, So that's why I said and on a much smaller scale. That's why I feel like Jamie Hayter and Mercedes Martinez earned their way onto this show over Statlander and Hirsch. That's obviously a far different scale, but I think you should earn your way into spots on shows and into spots on the actual shows and to spots on the roster, as opposed to, I'm the booker, this is your preordained destination, and we're just going to get there. And I think a lot of bookers fall into that trap.
Yeah.
I'm pushing this guy or this person, or I'm doing this thing. Here's my lineup. And then they're inflexible on it. I think you always have to be flexible and go with the flow and say, and this is not I'm not saying you need to take the title off Hangman Page or anything like that. I'm talking big picture now. I think you always have to be flexible, because what you envision in your head may not always be what plays out with the fans. And that's ultimately what matters. It's somewhat related. I think sometimes with Tony Khan and the way he books, a lot of times people will say that some of the stories don't feel particularly fleshed out, or they jump from point A to point C and they skip point B. And I do see that sometimes watching the weekly TV. I think what happens with Tony Khan, and I've been thinking about this a lot, I think he plans things out in his head and then plays them out in his head and then plans them out, and they don't play out quite the same way in reality as they did in his head. But I think he fills in the gaps with his headcanon. I don't know if I'm making any sense.
No, I totally do. Yeah, where he says, well, hey, this is what I want the story to be, and isn't flexible if that story doesn't quite land exactly to the fans.
Because to him, it's landing, because in his head, it landed already.
Right.
This is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like, because a lot of times I'll hear him talk about feuds or whatever and describe them, and I'm like, oh, wow, that sounds really cool, and I did miss this detail, and he is right about this, but I'm still cold on the feud because it didn't play out in reality.
It's not exactly what we've seen on television so far.
Right. It doesn't play out in reality the way it has played out in his head and the way he thought it through. And I think that, if I were to have a conversation with him, I would try to get him to think about that. Like Tony, it doesn't always play out on screen the way it has already played out in your head. And I think sometimes you have to listen to the crowds and listen to the fans. And look, wrestlers are performers, and that they're not always 100%. They might not always understand your vision the way you're laying it out to them. They might not always have the same idea of how to get to point A to point B as you do. And they may not perform it in the way that you were intent. There's a million things that go into this. And I do think sometimes in this company, you see some of the stories are a little scattered and not always as linear as you'd want them to be. And I think that's because Tony has already, and I don't think it's intentional. I think he's just, in his head, it's working because I've already thought it through.
Mm-hmm.
And we've played it out on TV, and and that's what and everyone understands it because I understand. And I don't think that's always the case. Hopefully that didn't come out like mishmash. I hope people understand the point I'm trying to make. But that doesn't have anything to do with Paige and Cole, other than maybe this feels like a hotter issue to Tony than it does to the rest of us. I don't know.
So that is AEW Revolution. Again, we will have an instant reaction live immediately following the show on Sunday. So patreon.com/Voices of Wrestling, $10 tier to get on that instant reaction live, AEW Revolution 2022. And again, if you're not in the US and you're going to order this show on Fight, make sure you use the link voicesofwrestling.com/fight to do so. It'll help us out tremendously. All right.
Don't you wish that we could break down and analyze and be that excited about WWE?
I know, it's insane. It was we really could have legitimately done 3 hours previewing just Revolution alone if we needed to.
And I can't muster up a single ounce of enthusiasm to think about WWE at all.
To think about WrestleMania. My preview of WrestleMania is we literally could do 20 minutes and be done.
Yeah. It's just disposable, shallow junk that you can't get into. And I was thinking about this the other day. I know that you have already been here, but I have finally reached a point where I have 0% investment in anything happening in that company whatsoever. And I've never been at 0.
They've ceased to exist for me. I mean, I honestly don't even
I'm pretty much there. It's only for this job that I pay any attention to it. I am at absolute 0 for the first time ever because there was always at least something. Oh, NXT is good. Oh, 205 Live, big match Buddy and Mustafa Ali, that stuff is good. Or there's one, Brock Lesnar's doing something cool. Or there's one storyline I like. Or NXT UK is had some cool matches. I am at absolute firm 0 when it comes to any enthusiasm or interest in WWE. I have finally got to where you have been, and I can't muster any enthusiasm whatsoever for anything that's happening in that company at all.
And the worst part is going back is going to be very difficult. It might never happen. You know what I mean? Like it might take a lot of things for it to go back. But yeah, it is the completely out of sight, out of mind for me right now. It complete, like you said, like we haven't even talked about WrestleMania or ticket sales or anything like that. And it's like, all right, yeah, I guess we could if we need to. We don't need to. You know what I mean? Like we will eventually, I'm sure. But it's so out of sight, so out of mind right now. It is pretty unbelievable where we've gotten to. There, but yeah, not a lot of other podcasts are going to do that and admit that to you. So, all right, let's talk about Jesus. Control your narrative, Joe. Where to start with control your narrative? It's a new-ish promotion from EC3, Killer Cross, and the Titan, Adam Shearer. Is that the Titan? I forget what he's going by. Adam Shearer, Adam the Titan. I don't know what it is. And Joe, it is quite the thing. They have a show this weekend. From the Tin Roof at Icon Park in Orlando, Florida. And take a sip of water here before I do this. Here is the lineup of scheduled fights. Joe, are you ready for the scheduled fights for Control Your Narrative this weekend at the Tin Roof at Icon Park in Orlando, Florida?
I guess so.
Quote, Josh Woods versus, all caps, the outspoken Austin Aries. What happens when a man seeks redemption and is met with ire and scorn? What is the hashtag mental health of someone hashtag canceled for stating their hashtag opinion, whether right or wrong? What happens when Woods, he used Wood S there, he didn't use the possessive the right way, that's fine. Hashtag pure potential meets a hashtag complex cast off.
I don't know, Rich. What happens?
What is he talking about? What is he doing? What is EC3 doing here? It is. Why are there so many hashtags? What is going on? I don't know. Anyway,
I can tell you what's happening. This promotion has run 2 shows already.
Yes.
I don't know how many people are aware of that. How much attention did those 2 shows get?
0, literally 0.
How much attention is this show getting?
A lot more.
That's what he's doing. And every Twitter activist and every person who hates Austin Aries and every person who thinks EC3 is a Nazi and every person who thinks that, name another dope on this show, whatever your issue is with whoever else is on the show, who constantly tweets to either dunk on or complain about this promotion is doing exactly what they want you to do, because this show is getting more attention than any other show they've ever done. I believe it's all by design. And as a result, I think whatever level of success it has, and I don't think it'll have any, but whatever level of success it does have is a result of all of the people who think it should be shut down and shouldn't exist or are afraid it's an alt-right front and all this other stuff. You're responsible for it because you won't stop fucking talking about it to the point where now I have to talk about this bullshit on my podcast because it's gotten so much attention that we can't ignore it.
Right. I think
I would love to ignore it.
Yes, we have ignored it, and I'm guessing after this weekend when this show happens and it's bad and the wrestling is horrible or whatever. It's not wrestling, it's performance activism or whatever the hell they're calling it. Yeah. I'm hoping that when it's done, like this weekend will probably be the expiration date. I am fully prepared to never talk about Control Your Narrative ever again after this week. But we have to. They've done a good job in getting attention this week, so we'll talk about them this week. And ideally next week we will never talk about them ever again.
A bunch of fools. EC3 is pulling the strings, baby. Look, that's what's happening here. You're all getting played. Every one of you that goes on Twitter to complain about this fucking thing, you're the ones keeping it alive. Nobody talked about the first 2 shows. They happened in complete anonymity. So, if you don't like this thing, here's an idea. Stop talking about it.
Yeah, ignore it, and then it'll go away, probably.
That would help a lot. And now I'm going to watch this dopey thing, because how could you not?
Right, yeah, and like I said, the show is going to be horrible. I'm positive of it, and then it will be, the expiration date will come, and then we will never have to talk about it ever again, which will be will be very good. But Jamie Stanley, it's Damo and handsome Jamie Stanley. Quote, Jamie Stanley is a printing microcosm of a culture obsessed with the superficial. Damo is the personification of coiled rage fueled to fight. What will the result be when hashtag America's jawline is met by a heavy Irish fist?
Big seasoning.
You want to jump ahead to big seasoning?
America's jawline and big seasoning.
You want to jump ahead to America's seasoning? We can do that.
They're selling seasonings.
They're selling, yeah. So okay, one second. Let me go to
fight big seasoning. I'm gonna try. You want me to try these seasonings on a Joe Eats?
I wish they would send you one because I don't really want you to have to buy them. But okay. So anyway. So if you go to the Control Your Narrative website, dudesgourmet.com/collections/control your narrative.
Oh, easy. At least the URL is easy.
Dudes Gourmet, yeah. Is what Control Your Narrative. Control your nutrition through our specially formulated seasoning. Oats, post-workout regimens, jerky, and protein ration packs coming soon. All right, so you have control your beef,
right,
control your fish, control your chicken, and control your veggies. So I'm going to click on Control Your Fish, Joe. $7.99 for Control Your Fish. Quote, big seasoning has been contaminating your beef, chicken, fish, and even your vegetables for far too long. Control Your Nutrition provides all natural ingredients. Health-conscious herbs and spices provide flavor that will punch you in the face. The time is now to take back control of your nutrition.
Are these seasonings or am I buying fish?
I don't know what you're buying, but Control Your Fish will take your salmon, trout, swordfish, and more to the next level.
There's a seasoning.
While eating clean, yes. So,
right,
Joe, what are your thoughts on big seasoning? Mrs. Dash and the rest of the Illuminati.
Yeah. I have felt controlled. And I have felt like I've been held down by big seasoning for a long time, Rich. Lowry's has just
I was going to say Lowry's.
You know,
these so, yeah.
I will buy one of these seasonings and I will do a Joe Eats. I see I could pick fish, pork, chicken, whatever the fuck.
McCormick, yeah. You're not going to be a slave to McCormick anymore, you know?
No, I want the all natural Control Your Narrative seasonings that I know are not being produced by big seasoning.
Yeah,
I will try that, and I will I'll get the beef, and I'll make myself a ribeye or something, and I'll tell everybody about the Control Your Narrative seasonings. I got to do that. I think.
Health conscious seasoning, yeah, because you're sick of just killing your body with the seasoning that you're putting on there now. So.
Big seasoning. Look, you need seasoning, but unfortunately, big seasoning's been controlling this racket for years. Mm-hmm. So, we got to break the cycle. Big seasoning, and we got to stop the oppression of big seasoning.
Yeah, we're coming for you, Mrs. Dash. You're
yeah.
Your time is up. Your time is up, Mrs. Dash.
And America's jawline is coming for Damo. Yes. Hey, can we leave Damo alone for taking a booking too? Can we stop saying? Can we stop tweeting at Damo to tell him he's a fucking he's in the Third Reich because he's taking a pro wrestling booking? Can we chill out with that too, please? Okay, he's a guy trying to make a living. Okay, he's taking a pro wrestling booking. Relax. Jeez. Anyway, what's next?
So the real reason you're watching the show is your boys, the Righteous, are going to be on here versus EC3 and the Titan Adam Shear. So 2/3 of hashtag the Righteous. Bateman is the Twisted Mind, and William is the disgusting body of a unit that doesn't seek hashtag fame.
Yeah.
Joe, what is that sentence? William is the disgusting body of a unit that doesn't seek fame. Hashtag fame. What's happening with that sentence?
Listen, I often describe myself that way.
As the disgusting body of a unit that doesn't seek fame?
Yeah, I'm not looking for attention ever. Yeah. I'm a disgusting body of a unit. At least sometimes on my down days, that's how I feel looking in the mirror. So I've described myself in that way at times. William,
but luckily,
of course, that's the former partner of fucking Detective Dan. That's who. What the fuck was that guy's name? Dutch. What was that guy?
Sure.
You know what I'm talking about.
Dude,
the guy from Ring of Honor. Remember, he was in Ring of Honor for a little while there.
Yeah.
He used to team with Detective Dan. WWE Dutch was his handle. You really don't know who this guy is?
I know. Who you're
okay. You just you like me struggling over here to describe.
I do. It's pretty good. Yeah.
All right.
Dutch Mantel.
Remember that these guys kidnapped a bunch of Ring of Honor young boys on the final Ring of Honor show too, and presumably have kidnapped them and are holding them hostage in this.
Yeah, they've either murdered them or they're still holding them hostage, and they will appear at the show. So
yeah.
Oh, by the way, they don't seek hashtag fame; they seek hashtag infamy. And can an hashtag essential character take another step to see a vision through? Can Sheer continue his journey to hashtag rise above his past and become the hashtag titan he is supposed to be?
How much are they charging for the rant room?
Let's get into the rant room here, because there is so much more here. We have quote. All right, clear my throat here. In the hashtag rant room, you have 3 minutes to yell and scream and berate your least favorite wrestler with 0 consequences in all caps. They will sit there and take it. Lose the keyboard and let it rip. In my quest,
keyboard warriors.
Lose the keyboard and let it rip, Joe. We should do this. If we could get money, I gotta find out how much money they're gonna make here.
How are we not doing this? There'd be people lined up around the block to yell at me.
To yell at you, yeah. Yeah, I'll take their money. I will. No one's gonna want to yell at me, and then I'll just port them right to you, and it'll be fantastic.
You'll launder the money like you always do.
Yeah, of course.
You'll skip off to Iceland.
Yeah, I just want to watch the money, and then it's all yours afterwards. So
yeah.
In my quest for wrestlers and fans, that was all caps, to have the freedom to speak their truth to the CYN hashtag rant room is a tool for the development of opinionated people to have the hashtag courage to say what they feel to someone's face.
I mean, it's a great idea. Are they charging like $20?
I don't know what they're charging. I don't know how much the rent room costs, but we got to undercut them.
Are they really going to work people who hate Austin Aries enough to, number one, buy a ticket, and then number two, buy the right to get into a booth with him and shout at him about vaccines? Are they going to work people hard enough that they're going to do that?
They very well might. Yeah, I don't know.
Like. Does somebody hate Austin Aries enough to spend $40?
I'm gonna pay $40 to call him short. That'll show it.
Yeah, and then $40 for a ticket, and then $20 to yell at him to tell him he's wrong about vaccines and make a short joke. Are they going to work people to do that?
I'm fascinated by this.
Because as big of a dick as Austin Aries is, and make no mistake, he's like one of the biggest dicks. Like. That I can't kill him.
He's gonna come home with he's gonna be a dick that's $1,000 richer after Saturday. So
yeah, I mean that's phenomenal. I mean, there's a whole industry of people who like calling Austin Aries short. If he can get people to pay him to call him short, I mean that's a win. I mean, there's got to be a couple dorks on Twitter who are willing to pay Austin Aries to call him short and make fun of his promise ring, right? That has to be a real thing. Someone's going to do it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And then feel real good about themselves and march out of there, but they're going to be $60 lighter.
It's absurd. This is so ridiculous.
They're working everybody.
It's a thing. Yeah, I don't know.
Why am I talking about? We have to talk about this
Me too.
now.
Yeah, let's hopefully no longer have to. Again, I promise you the expiration date is coming, and the expiration date is probably Saturday, and we will never have to talk about Control Your Narrative again. But Joe... From the propaganda desk of the essential character comes this, the press release that Pro Wrestling TV, which will launch in April, and hashtag Control Your Narrative have agreed to an exclusive agreement to bring wrestling's, quote, newest brand to its television home. With PWTV, the way professional wrestling is consumed will change forever, states EC3. We're very excited to partner with PWTV to bring the stories, skills, and abilities of a distinct and driven group of talents to the wrestling world.
This was the big TV deal.
This is the big TV deal, is Pro Wrestling TV.
This thing that no one knows what it is.
Nobody knows what it is, and they're apparently launting it, and they're a part of launching it.
Aren't you glad, though, they didn't get on, Be-In or something, so we'd have to,
Yeah, right. It's completely irrelevant to the point where we don't even have to pretend to care about them moving forward, which is great. In addition to continuing to produce full-length cinematic wrestling features. Yeah, so, Joe, when you buy your ticket, you're not watching a wrestling show. You're buying a ticket. You're buying a seat. You're buying the rights to sit in a seat and watch an athletic, propaganda, cinematic wrestling feature performance. Not a wrestling show. That CYN and PWTV will bring a unique perspective of presenting and distributing wrestling to the fans in the form of seasonal television approach. Yes, the first time ever somebody has thought of seasonal television. How? My God. It's so long. Each episode will build the stories of the wrestlers, their conflicts, and their journeys, culminating each season with a live event special. Here's what the Titan has to say. He says, the wrestling will be real. The stories will be real. We want to put the power back in the hands of the wrestlers and create a place they can make a living. So,
I could be
Rings.
watching.
it's a Rings redo, I guess.
Let me tell you something. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. I am missing 20 college basketball tournament games to talk about this Control Your Narrative promotion because you fucking morons listening to this couldn't stop tweeting about it. Thank you very much. The West Coast Conference kicked off their tournament tonight.
Oh, Santa Clara. You could be watching Santa Clara right now, and now you're doing this.
And I got to sit here and talk about Control Your Narrative because you guys want to tweet at Austin Aries and tell him he's wrong about vaccines. Let him catch COVID. Who cares? Why are you concerned about Austin Aries vaccines? Now I'm missing 20 college basketball games. I'm not happy about it. Actually, one of them doesn't tip off for another.
I was going to say, West Coast Conference, you probably got a game starting at 11, so you're good.
Yeah. I
might watch that game too. What's the game?
I'll look it up for you while you're talking.
Good. Yeah, be good. Good to try to fall asleep too. All right, well, that is it. So Pro Wrestling TV will debut in April with a linear channel and on-demand streaming app provided as a free ad-supported service to viewers worldwide. So yeah, circle your calendars for April and the beginning of Pro Wrestling TV. So that is Control Your Narrative, and let's hope, God, I hope that is the last time we ever have to talk about Control Your Narrative. All right, Joe, I have a question for you. We have about 7 minutes left. We had some other topics to get to. Are we punting those topics? Are you ready to go on vacation, or do you want to do an overrun? What are you thinking here? What should we do?
Loyola Marymount knocked off Pacific.
Wow. Upset City. I don't know.
I don't think Hank Gathers played in that.
Oh, okay. Well,
I
was going to say, was Michael Ola Candy for Pacific? Because that's a big upset if so.
And in 3 minutes, Pepperdine and San Diego tips off.
Oh, there we go.
I don't think Paul Westfall's coaching Pepperdine in that one. I'm just naming dead people now, Rich.
I was going to say 3 of the people we've mentioned recently are dead.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. So that's what's going on in the West Coast Conference tournament. What topics we got here?
So we had a little bit of Japan topics. We had the NWA Crockett Cup. I don't know. We had Rev Pro. I could probably.
How much time do we have?
We had about 6 minutes left to get under the 3-hour window here.
All right, let's end the show. Let's keep the people on, and let's give them a little overrun before I head on the vacation here.
Let's do that. Okay, so bouncing around Japan, I will be on the overrun. I am going to do the thing that you should never do and recommend a Joshi match to Joe that he will probably not watch, but he should watch. Check in with Dragon Gate real quick. They got a Champion Gate show coming up this weekend. New Japan's got the New Japan Cup, the New Japan 50th anniversary. We'll talk about that. And then briefly touch on the NWA Crockett Cup and the Rev Pro Epic Encounter, everything coming together for that. So again, if you've never done an overrun here, if you are a live listener, if you're one of the people listening live right now, don't go anywhere. Don't close the video. Don't close anything. We're going to do the overrun on this feed. If you are a free subscriber to the flagship, this show is going to conclude. The overrun will be on the $5 tier over at patreon.com/Voices of Wrestling, flagshippatreon.com as well. $5 tier for everything that I just talked about. We are going to talk about there on that part of the show. But for the free feed, we are done. That is Joe. I am Rich. If you are a live listener, stick on the feed. Stick here. We will be right back with the overrun.